Hello, everybody. Wait, where's Samio? Hold on, I didn't get that set up. Here?
Oh no.
Oh, there you are. Oh my God, you're huge. Let me just shrink you down a little. There you go.
Ah!
Yeah, there you go. Discord audio. Yep. Wait, can I hear you?
I exist.
Hey, thank you, and thank you, Rocky, for the hydrate. I certainly will.
So will I.
Yes. So, to give a little background as to what exactly is happening right now, so my introduction, anytime that I see somebody new come in, is hello everybody, I'm Solaris Dreamweaver, I am the Jester of the Cosmos, and I'm here for your entertainment and education. Now, I've done a whole lot of entertainment streams, but not necessarily educational streams. So the only really thing that I think is in a chronic lack of education, words suck. The only space in terms of the educational, the only place in the educational space that seems to be lacking a lot is in the sense of Marxist-Leninist ideology. Now, because, you know, there are millions of channels that talk about marine life. There are millions of channels that talk about, you know, rocks and shit, sedimentary, all that shit, igneous, whatever. There's tons that even talk about therapy and whatnot. So, and also we have Samio here talking about philosophy too. Ain't that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can I say my intro phrase? I finally got an intro phrase.
Oh, hell yeah. Go for it.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Samuel. I am your friendly internet uncle that wants to help you get into philosophy.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. I love that you've embraced the unk.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
on top of being a literal uncle.
Oh, damn, nice. Congratulations on
Yep.
that. But yes, though, so, I mean, obviously I will never be as good as somebody like, Leaping Larry, or even Mana. Or Futakuchi Mana. I'll never be as good as them, but what I can provide to the conversation is, I guess, my own perspective, my own, I guess, descriptions and ideals, I guess, and talking about the things that I believe are the most important to the current thing. Because what I want to do is, if I can prevent it, I want to help combat nihilism. Combat nihilism, combat you know, unaliving thoughts. I know, I want to say, I'm censoring myself because I don't want, you know, Twitch to strike me down, but you know what I mean. This first thing here is, part of the, one of the things that I think, would definitely help. And the next few educational streams will try to also be, revolving around that. I don't want you to unalive yourself. I want you to, you know, have the motivation to keep going. And I believe that one of the best ways to do that is through a Marxist lens. And through a materialistic lens. And I believe, because that's what happened with me. And I know that this is not universal, but if there's even remotely somebody out there that even remotely felt the way I do, that way I did, in terms of the outlook of the world and the doomerism that they felt, but feeling the motivation to hold on because of something that they learned, or something philosophical that helped change their perspective on something, then I want to help with that. But also, since I'm autistic and I have ADHD, I often ramble. I go off track, I completely derail the conversation, completely involuntarily, And that is why I have Comrade Samio here, not only to help contribute to the conversation, but to help keep me on track as well. So, your presence is greatly appreciated, Samio.
Yeah, I bring a brand of boring autistic structure mindedness that ADHD people tend to appreciate sometimes. Hello, Mr. Len.
Hey, Misty, thank you for the head pats. Rocky says, you have me for an hour, then I gotta leave to play Borderlands with one of my buddies. Alright, buddy. Alright, I will, let's do what we can, Samio. So yes, so the other thing, too, that I want to also get out of the way first is that this stream may not be as entertaining as the usual ones. Yeah, they may not be as entertaining as the usual ones because what we are doing is facing, hard facts, and we're going through very, admittedly, boring materialist analysis, but we will do our best to make it entertaining, and, well, that's the other thing, is that this is also educational. Education does not necessarily need to be boring, but there's a very likely chance that it could happen, so, just do keep that in mind. We will do our best to make it, again, we will do our best to make it entertaining, but do not be shocked when it turns out that that this VOD is boring. But it might happen, but we will do our best to accommodate. Because also you have me who is able to, you also have me and Samio who are able to put jokes in between and all that, right? So we should be all good then. So in respect to not only your time, Samio, but also Rocky's, I think we should get right into what we're talking about today. So
Okay.
yeah. Oh, I should probably also give me a sec. I'm gonna share my screen. Or actually, I don't think that's necessary. You can see the stream, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking to you on Discord. I'm reading chat on my chat program thing, and I'm watching the stream all at the same time.
Okay.
Full on multimedia mastery.
Hell yeah. Okay, then let's get right into it.
Okay.
Where is... Oh! Okay. Where is the window capture? Oh, right. It's not looking on the... It's not looking at... Okay, there we go. Ocular. Here we go. So... So our primary thesis right now is revolutionary optimism, and revolutionary optimism is an integral part to oh my god, I suck.
It's fine.
Revolutionary optimism can help you not unalive yourself. Okay, and so to begin with, you know, Samuel, why don't you introduce this? Because I've never been good at presentations.
Okay, it's fine. It takes some training.
It does
but
take
I
some
think
training,
we should actually start with the Lady Easy Heart video about crisis being particularly useful catalysts for social change.
Absolutely. I almost forgot about those, honestly. Let me pull that up. I almost forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
It's fine. It's the old top-down processing.
Yes, indeed. So game audio application beta. There we go. Liberals and political alienation.
Everyone, comment on Solaris's Fruity Guerrero skin.
Oh,
for his browser, their browser.
Oh, you mean this? Yes, I very much love Fruity Guerrero. So we will let Comrade Istahar take it from here.
This is why liberals burn out and disappear from activism. They silence themselves. You see, this weekend I was sitting at a coffee shop here in Seattle, and I overheard two...
I don't know, yes, that's because...
Wait, sorry, what?
I was wondering, hey, why can't I hear that? Oh, because it's not on the call. Of course I can't hear it.
No, this is on stream. This is on stream.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I'm sorry.
This
Please
is why
restart.
liberals burn out and disappear from activism. they silence themselves. You see, this weekend I was sitting at a coffee shop here in Seattle, and I overheard two elderly friends meeting up behind me, just talking about the world. Within 2 minutes, I realized I'd heard the exact same conversation from liberals in this city far too many times. She says, "If I had just had more willpower in my life, I would have run for Congress by now and changed things, fixed things from the inside." At that, I had to hold myself from laughing because I'd been there, fresh
Me
out of
too.
college with my political science degree, thinking the exact same thing. But after she said this, her friend, a man, cuts in a very hushed and serious tone, saying, "Don't you ever write that in email, please." She panics and agrees, seeming genuinely afraid. He then tries to scare her about how within the next 10 years, the government will have the technology to read all of our messages and emails. I think we're past that, buddy.
We're
But
well
this conversation
past
is something that Marx wrote about, arguing that under capitalism, people become separated from their own power and decision-making. I started to witness a conversation that is what Marxists call alienation from political life. Not just from your labor or the labor of others, but from your ability to act in the world at all. When people stop seeing themselves as participants in their community, in history, and start seeing themselves as something to be managed, even by themselves. Meaning that people aren't just living under the system, they start to think within its perceived limits. So they go on, "I'm not gonna go to the protest tomorrow. I don't know what to tell Susan. Yeah, I'm tired of them too. All they ever do is yell at us now from the stage. I'm tired of it." They make some questionable comments on why organizers keep bringing up Gaza, and then literally end this part of the conversation with, "Well, what can you do? Strange times we live in. Way past strange." And then they just move on to talk about travel, leaving, family members going on spiritual retreats, thinking they might not come back because it doesn't suit them anymore here. A certain level of privilege of escapism.
Yep.
Anything but what's
Yep.
actually happening here in front of them. Again, political alienation. People no longer see themselves as part of the collective action. Lenin describes this kind of condition in What is to be Done. The spontaneous development of the working class movement leads to its subordination to bourgeois ideology. Left on its own, some people don't move towards liberation. They drift to passivity, submission. And I keep thinking about how this isn't repression in the way that people imagine it. No one is stopping them from speaking or trying. They're stopping themselves. And historically, that's exactly how power stabilizes, through shrinking what people believe is possible, not only with force. Much like Gramsci's explanation of cultural hegemony, where the normal exercise of hegemony is characterized by the combination of force and consent. So what do we do with that? I was sitting there thinking the same thing. I can't just stand up and argue with someone. They seem genuinely scared and avoidant. Some of the questions we need to ask ourselves and others isn't just how to fight power or strategize the change itself, but also how to reach these kinds of people, those who have quietly stepped out of the fight altogether. What do you think? Have you seen this around you as well? And have you found anything particularly helpful when talking to these kinds? I think I was most hesitant to go up to them because they were very, very old, and I can empathize with them being tired of it all at their old age. I didn't quite have the right positive or uplifting words I wanted to have for them in the moment. I certainly wasn't going to chastise them. That doesn't help anyone.
Right. So, Yoshien, that's a good show. Anyway, so
that's not the one.
Sorry?
That's not the one.
What do you mean?
It's the one up above. In our conversation,
Oh.
It's the one about how the revolutions even work. That's a good one. That's still useful because
yes.
it says it's gonna set us some groundwork.
Yes.
So basically, the special tool that's gonna help us later is
right. Yes.
Notice the emotional condition that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So it's not that these people, these Seattle college-educated liberals, it's not that they do not understand.
How to revolution?
It's not that they don't.
They
understand.
clearly have the knowledge and at least the moral clarity to understand that what is happening in the United States is all sorts of fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem, at least in this Seattle liberal college-educated person, it's not a problem of intellect. It is a problem of will. It's a problem of passions and emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And also, considering that they were quite old, it's possible that they were pretty active in their youth, but through a lifetime of just very little change or change being accomplished, but then years later it being rolled back, I can understand why they could have, been so exhausted. It's especially because if you're working in the liberal framework of, you know, we should just vote for these things to get into power. We should, we should have more black, gay, and female Gestapo officers instead of, getting rid of the Gestapo officer, the occupation of a Gestapo officer in general. If you limit yourself in such a framework, you're gonna get exhausted. So, like, you know what I mean, right?
Yes. Um, in psychological terms,
Mm.
giving up because nothing of what you seem to do matters, and this eventually causes depression, is called learned helplessness.
Ah, yes. I've heard that plenty of times.
So, because American psychologists are not the most ethical people in the world,
No,
um,
no. Certainly
they
not.
they came up with this concept because they had a dog, and there was a plate of treats or dog food or whatever,
Mm.
and the either the ground or the dog had a shock collar.
Yes. Shock
So
collar seems like more like what would be happening, I think.
I've heard versions where it's either or.
Right. But it's
So
not important.
basically, anytime the dog tried to get the food, they will shock the dog.
Mm. Right.
And the dog will try again and again, 10, 12 times. And eventually, the dog just associated that he will never be able to get the food. So even after they take away the collar or they take away the dog and put it in another place where there's no shocked floors or whatever, yeah, most ethical psychological experiment I
Yeah.
know,
Very ethical. Mm-hmm.
the dog will just not be able to get up and get the food.
Mm-hmm.
The feelings of failure and powerlessness had so thoroughly filled the dog's mind that it just gave up.
Indeed. So,
Even when materially he could have gotten the food anytime the dog wanted. That's the important part.
mm-hmm.
The important part is that when we're talking about learned helplessness, is that it's a purely psychological effect. It is not material at all, even though it was caused by material conditions. It is no longer a reflection of material conditions. That's the important part. Okay.
Indeed. The other thing too that's part of that. Hold on, I had a thought. And it was.
We're talking about in the context of voting, in the context of
Yes.
institutional reform.
So when we were talking about the liberal framework of, well, we should just vote in the change that we want to see. The problem with that is that those are only concessions, right? Those are only concessions. And the problem with concessions is that they could be taken away at any time, should the capitalist class deem it necessary, right? Because, like, you could vote for women's rights in 1965, let's say, in high imagination, and then after many decades of complacency, those rights and those laws start to be repealed little by little, because they are actively getting in the way of profits. In real life, that would be more applied to stuff like unions, to maternal and paternal leave, paid sick leave, and all those good things that a lot of us took for granted for a good long while. But now that, there is no USSR anymore, and now that, the threat of people thinking, oh, well, the Russians have all these nice things. They have, like, rent is only 3% of your income? What? Huh? Why don't we have that? The fact that they don't have that anymore, and that they could just use Orientalism and racism for actually existing socialist countries like China right now, means that they feel very comfortable with repealing those rights that we, the workers, fought so damn hard to acquire, but they could just be now they could just be taken away with the snap of a finger. So that is also why, voting the change in doesn't necessarily work all the time, and it is also why it is also why social democracy is the objectively the moderate wing of fascism, right? Because that's concession heaven. But when time has come and the billionaires that run the capitalist nation see fit for it, they could just take them away, right? So, and after seeing that happen, of course some people are going to get, depressed. They're going to get exhausted, right? Seeing, like, take Angela Davis. Sorry?
Stop you for a bit.
Please, yeah.
The exhaustion is the point.
Exactly.
So when Lazy Easyheart tells us that we're alienated, okay, what does that mean in normal person English?
Please, yes.
It means that these people who fought for civil rights and for better wages and for lower working hours,
like Angela Davis,
they thought that they achieved those things through their efforts.
Mm-hmm.
But the nature of them being concessions tells us, no. What these people did was just effort that went nowhere. Because the actual cause, what actually made those things happen, was an opposing state with enough coercive power to force the Western world into giving away those things.
Yes, that is true.
So if the real cause came from somewhere else, then the people who did those marches and those protests and all that expensive in terms of energy and time tasks,
mm-hmm.
when they see that the concessions can be taken away, they realize, oh, all the efforts, all the skills I thought I knew, that was all theater. Mm-hmm. That was all fake. Nothing of what I did mattered.
Indeed, yeah.
They played me like a goddamn fiddle.
Exactly.
And that is emotionally devastating.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's soul-crushing, even. It's like Sisyphus finding out for the very first time that all that work he did pushing up the boulder was all for nothing, because now it's back at the bottom of the hill, and oops, he has to do it all over again. But
it's even worse. It's even worse because the people who did this protest and who specialize and spend years of their life theorizing in the liberal school of policies,
mm-hmm.
they realize, oh, I cannot even do it again because it went nowhere. It didn't matter at all. So They don't even get to roll up the boulder for the second time.
Yeah, I was going to say that I was going to say that they weren't even going to do it the second time, but I was going to say it for a different reason. But what you said was actually a much better reason. Mm-hmm. But yeah, though. So now that we have established this, so.
Just want to summarize something.
Please.
So when Marxists say this word like freely, like alienation, and it sounds like a rather distant technical term,
mm-hmm.
I want everyone in chat to think about in their heads that, oh, alienation means I've been working and struggling and wasting my life for something that I believed I understood, and it turns out I do not understand it at all.
Yes, absolutely.
Imagine that sinking feeling of confusion and failure and even shame when you realize, oh, all this time I was completely misunderstanding the situation. That's alienation.
Indeed. But the other thing too is that we also feel alienation not just within, the work that we do to make things better, but also just in general with the work that we do, like at our jobs. We feel alienated from our labor. We feel alienated from just the system itself. We move on from seeing atrocities in the news, but we move on because, well, I'm just one person. What the hell am I supposed to do about this? Or even just, worst of all, the alienation from the self. Like, I feel alienated from who I am or who I could be. And that's how far alienation really goes and how deep it runs, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
As
So,
we'll see, well, I mean, if we keep doing this, um, the people who rule you don't want you to understand how your own emotions work.
and by that we mean the bourgeoisie. We don't just mean like, the politician. We don't just mean like, the Republicans and the Democrats. We also mean like, the billionaire class. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, the Koch brothers, who are the other two people who own the Walton family.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, those people who have absorbent amount of wealth, including also, Trump, the Trump estate and all that, like people who have absurd amounts of wealth, more so than any one person could ever possibly need. The metaphorical dragons sitting on hordes and hordes of gold, right? Those are the people who don't want you to understand your emotions, who don't want you to think, who to think critically. They just want you to, they, what they want is essentially, what they want is a robot, essentially, doing it, working in their factories. They want a complacent, they want a complacent slave. Because, I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
that,
there's a contradiction. There's a contradiction there because they want you to be a robot half of the time,
yes.
but they also want you to be a panicked, vulnerable body they can prey upon
And
the other half of the time.
they could also susceptible to, be selling you stuff, right? Selling you
Yes.
slop in the food that's like processed to shit and also pumped full of corn syrup if you live in the States. Like, so, and for a lot of people, that's the realizing that is, just is destroying of the self. And that's part of the whole thing of like, well, when you grow up and whatnot, what they really mean by growing up is like abandoning who you were, who you were developing to become this mindless drone who, does the work without question, who never falls out of line, who struggles and does their absolute best only to be rewarded with more work for the exact same pay.
Yep.
So, this, when you actually think about it, because I was also chatting with a friend of mine from China, who, China, may I remind, is a socialist country. China is not capitalist. China is not capitalist. It is socialist. Where that is a completely different conversation, and I'm not even going to entertain that because it's pointless. China is a socialist nation. Then their goal is communism. I was chatting with them and telling them the story of the person who was once my once my best friend, the person who designed Solaris Dreamweaver. The form you are looking at right now was designed by that person. And they were probably one of the greatest minds of their time. Super incredibly talented, incredibly smart, incredibly empathetic, but they had lost their mind. They had lost their mind because just bad thing after bad thing after bad thing after bad thing kept happening to them. Like, just there wasn't a single day where the capitalist state was not pushing her down. She, like, I'm not going to get into specifics because, I don't want to talk about her personal life too much, but this is a soul this was a beautiful soul, a beautiful person, a wonderful person whose entire life was snatched away from them because the capitalist state deemed her deemed her an undesirable, not only because she was trans, but because she was indigenous as well. One of the best artists that I have ever seen, one of the kindest, most empathetic people I've ever known, gone, essentially snuffed out, and her brain essentially committed suicide. Not actually, she's still around. It's just this isn't the same person that I became friends with, you know? So the point of that is that, like, well, I was talking with my friend from China about that, and she was absolutely shocked about this. She was like, "Oh, it completely inappropriate time, bot. Completely inappropriate." I got it.
Yeah. Okay, you got it.
Yeah. And she was shocked. She had no idea that it was that bad because, like, in China, there are steps and alleviations to prevent even ever such a thing from happening. If there, like, for example, in cases of domestic abuse, there are definitely ways to get out of it in China. There were even ways to get out of it in the Soviet Union, for God's sakes. For cases of, like, for cases of, debt, for cases of, predatory business practices, there are ways to deal with it in China. Because that's not to say that they never happened in China. They definitely do. But there were ways to get around that. There were ways to alleviate that. Had this person who made my model, who made my design, had they had been born in China, then she would have had, she probably would have had, like, a hard life like any other normal person would, like, because life is hard, but she wouldn't nearly have to live a life so torturous, so hard that, like, if I were to wake up, why bother, to the point where they would end up thinking, why bother waking up today? Because tomorrow is just going to be even more pain than the last day. Who is going to betray me now? How is my government going to dig the heel onto our bodies that are already under the boot? Had there been protections of socialism and the strive for communism, had those been there, that person could have led a life that filled with joy, happiness, and even one where she could become the artist that she always wanted to be, a recognized artist that she always deserved to be. So like, you get what I'm trying to say, right? So
yes, you are providing a very emotionally resonant example of what it means to live under class rule.
Yes.
Because it means that for 95% of the world, we are the recipients of an antagonistic relationship,
yes,
in which we are seen only as instruments of production or war or something even more perverse, which I cannot say due to Twitch, but Epstein files. That's all I can say about it. Yeah.
Yes. Ugh. God.
Yeah, but that means that's a condition for 95% of the world. Of course, in varying degrees.
Indeed.
And that is, I think, the precondition to everything we're going to say, because if we do not understand this antagonistic relationship, then we are truly alienated.
Indeed.
We do not understand what is going on.
Yes, indeed. So we will get into the introductory here of Lady Istihar, giving a very brief overview. How do revolutions even work? Because, like, we set the... How do you reconcile with having an artifact of a person no longer with you? Well, that's something that's a little bit different. That's a bit more of a personal thing. And that all depends on, the context around that, which, unfortunately, me and Samio do not have. We could discuss it privately if you wish, but unfortunately that is not what we
Yeah, it's a tad personal
yes,
to deal with in the stream.
Yes.
Um,
that's a bit too specific.
I know the question was meant to Solaris and not me, but As someone who is quite older and who has had friends and acquaintances not only die of natural causes, but um, move on from this life, to use a less cringe, Twitch-friendly euphemism,
Of course.
it is unavoidable. That is really the lesson.
Indeed.
The more you live, the more you have to deal with those little reminders of the people who are now gone. It is part of the human condition. And while it is sad, and it does mean that in order to be a sane person, you live with a little bit of mourning in everything you do, you have to keep living, because otherwise you'll just stay and cry until you're gone yourself.
Indeed. Indeed. But that is also part of the reason why we are talking here and now, is we want to help we want to help eliminate that nihilism, even maybe a little bit. I don't want you to unalive yourself. I do not want you to move on to the next life, right? So, well, we don't. Most people don't. But we have the what, but now we also need to get into the why, right? Because because with all of what we have set, with all the precedent that we have set, that yeah, life under capitalism is an absolutely monstrous existence. What can we actually do about that? You know? Like, if voting doesn't work, if organizing just to get concessions doesn't work, then what the fuck does? So that's what we're going to talk about today, right? So Lady Isahar here is going to give a brief. Well, the short answer is revolution. That's the short
Okay, but
answer.
that's just a word.
Yes, that's just a word. That's the what, but now the why we need to get into. So, Lady Isahar, please take it away.
How do revolutions actually work? In encouraging us to fight back, I commonly
Oops. My mobile fell. Sorry.
hear, well, there's no leadership. I need a guidebook. No one is telling us what to do. Some of this is valid concern. So
Yes.
let me be precise. There is a playbook.
I have
And
felt
some of
that.
it was written during the success of the Russian Revolution, if you pay attention. A few tens of thousands of organized Bolsheviks helped overthrow a 300-year-old empire of 160 million people. Let me show you how that structure actually worked, what caused people to rise, and where you might fit inside of it. So in February of 1917, the Bolshevik Party had only about 24,000 people. Note that the Russian Empire they were in had around 160 million people. That means the organized revolutionary core was only about 0.015% of the population. And still, 8 months later, they led the overthrow of the Tsarist state. So how does something so small move something that big? Lenin did not believe that every worker had to be a full-time revolutionary. He believed that a small organized core had to exist inside the working class. And in What Is to Be Done, he wrote, "The organization of the revolutionaries must consist first and foremost of people whose profession is that of the revolutionary." So there is that small percentage of the professional revolutionaries who protect the movement from being crushed. The masses that make the force. I know many of you are saying, well, I can't do that. I wouldn't do that. Why would I do that? Perhaps you wouldn't be the person to do that. Lenin is telling you that most people are not this layer and were never meant to be. Now, they operated as a vanguard party. That layer is the vanguard, and it's not everyone. But that core are the people trained to coordinate, communicate, and hold things together when chaos hits. Lenin was very explicit that revolution had layers. In left-wing communism, he wrote, "The dictatorship of the proletariat is a stubborn struggle, bloody and bloodless, violent and peaceful, military and economic, educational and administrative, against the forces and traditions of the old society." That sentence is describing different kinds of fighters inside the same struggle. Some fight, some organize, some teach, some run logistics, some keep communities alive. And this is where your layers come from. You can visualize it like this. I went ahead and made a little diagram. I hope it'll help you visualize where you might fit in. Now there's the organized core, the professional revolutionaries, underground networks, printers, couriers, strike organizers. Then there's the wide sympathetic layer. The union workers, students, people who support the cause but are not, full-time militants. And then there's the mass general population, people who are not necessarily political, but are pulled into action when crisis hits. Lenin explains when that mass suddenly moves, a revolution is impossible without a nationwide crisis. The crisis creates motion. The organized layers give it direction. Now, Rosa Luxemburg analyzed what happens when the crisis breaks open. The revolutionary dictatorship, that is, the victory of the proletariat, cannot be picked from a tree at the desired hour or caught falling from the sky. It can only occur as the end result of the proletariat's gradual, continual march towards power. Then she explains the rapture. Times of revolution rend the cage of legality open like pent-up steam splitting from its kettle. Politically and legally, the rule of the governmental authority, up to that moment, absolutism is destroyed and the struggle of the proletariat can manifest its full might. So she's saying that revolutions begin when legality collapses, when food runs out, when war drags on, when the state loses control. We're seeing some of that now, aren't we? But one or all of those things will spark the masses to flood in, and the organized layers determine what happens next. Individually, as far as feeling like you may not fit in any of this, I hear a lot of, well, I'm sick, I'm scared, I'm poor, I'm not trained. I want to remind and encourage you that Lenin lived with chronic illness and later severe neurological damage. Che Guevara had crippling asthma, yet fought in a jungle. There's even Helen Keller, who was blind and deaf and still organized for socialism. Now, all of these individuals lived in different circumstances and material conditions, but no one was 100% prepared. But they were needed. And Karl Marx made the rule that made this possible, from each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. Lenin also answered this logic directly. Again, in What Is to Be Done, he said, the workers, the overwhelming majority, are capable of displaying enormous energy and self-sacrifice in strikes and in street battles, with the police and troops, and are capable of determining the whole outcome of our movement. History is not waiting for everyone to become brave or educated or ready. It's waiting for a crisis. When that moment comes, people will be pulled into motion whether they planned for it or not. The only thing that can determine whether chaos becomes liberation is whether enough of us are ready to know which layer we belong in and what we can do, what we have to provide if capable. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be positioned and believe that a better world is possible.
So, there's that. And, here today, we're not here to figure out, where each of us fall into, right? We're
not gonna solve revolution.
We are not gonna solve that. That is a much bigger topic, and that is also something that is very much that is...
Yeah, I am not personally equipped to solve it by myself.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't think anyone is by themselves.
Yeah. I'm just going to get this up on the side.
Yeah, now we can move on to the presentation.
Yes, we're going to pull that up later. Let me just change over to where we are here. Okay. Right. So...
you can make the presentation be full screen. There should be an option under view.
It is full screen. It is full screen.
There's some slides on the... There's a menu on the left. Whatever.
I can't get rid of that.
Oh, okay, never mind. It's trivial. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Enough of the text is can be seen. That's what matters. Okay, so what we want to do today is, the general goal is things look bad.
Very bad.
But we actually have more hope now than we ever had in decades.
Indeed. This is... there is something special about this moment in time that makes it different from any other time in history. Not even during the Vietnam War protests was there this level of optimism. Not even during I had a thought and then my brain stopped. I'm sorry. But this moment in history is very special. And why is that, Samuel?
Because the core of reactionary capitalist forces is now waging a war on multiple fronts. It is a thoroughly reactionary war, and it is losing hard.
Very much
losing
so.
badly enough that this can be the crisis that Lady Izihar just spoke about when it comes
Indeed.
to breaking open the illusions of legality and thus creating this emergence point where people actually stop following the social script and start thinking about their own self-interest.
Indeed. And those multiple war fronts, like, they're happening all over the world, right? It's the fucking they're siding with Israel and their genocide against Palestinians. It's
Well, I mean, how can you side with yourself?
oh, that's true. Yes. It's it's turning Ukraine into a reactionary puppet state and using it to attack Russia. It's they're trying and failing to get China to attack Taiwan Island, but China is not falling for the bait. And most recently and most devastatingly, it's the United States' suicidal holy crusade against Iran. That is the primary thing that we are seeing right now, because that, out of all of them, because like the Russia Ukraine war was like the start of it. Then the Palestinian people rose up to fight back against their Israeli oppressors, and then most recently, it's them attacking Iran and killing the Ayatollah. This The United States has never done anything this reckless, this foolish, like, ever, right?
So, regime change and assassinating leaders of governments is something that the United States has done for at least 100 years.
Yes, absolutely.
That part is not new. The ruthlessness, the violence, the clandestine murder, that is old. That is 100 years old at least.
And we can name so many different examples.
Oh,
To quote Michael Parenti, there's Mossadegh in Iran, which followed the Shah. There was Goulart in Brazil, who was followed by, do you remember? What's his name?
No, not the name of the Brazilian
After
junta, enough Condor.
Yeah.
I know the context, but not
Yes.
the name. The name fails me.
There were the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, Arbenz in Guatemala, and there were so many
Salvador
different,
Allende and later Pinochet in Chile. Yeah,
Salvador Allende in Chile.
We could have so many examples right now.
Yeah, but I just wanted to list a few just to really emphasize how much that they've done. But this isn't even a fraction of how many legitimate governments that the United States has overthrown for the sake of preserving capital, for the sake of preserving profits, right?
Yeah, so the interesting question is, what makes this one different?
Indeed. So?
Well, there's some general factors, which we'll not cover in depth because that's not the goal of this, but I mean, it aids our main argument that we have good reasons to be optimistic, revolutionary optimistic, not ordinary optimism, not just happy, fun, la la la.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Like actual legitimate.
A certain kind of revolutionary optimism that is still a bit bitter.
Indeed.
And carries the taste of blood, if you pardon some poetry. Some bad poetry, but you know what I meant.
Poetry is always welcome.
This one is different because the current United States regime is spearheaded by a bunch of imbeciles.
By a bunch of bourgeois nepo baby shits who, I would argue, are the result of what happens when the American bourgeoisie, that is, the billionaires, the rich ruling class who actually own the country, when they fall for their own propaganda. Yes. When they actually believe that they are going over to these countries on the other side of the world, and trying to bring about freedom and democracy, despite the fact
no. That part, nobody actually believes that part.
You'd be surprised.
Well, I mean, not one at an actual level of executive command actually believes that.
Well, yeah, nobody actually believes that in Yeah, the executive command of the U.S. No, of course
Yeah,
not.
in an actual important position, they don't actually believe that. They know that they're doing it for their own sake. Like Trump earlier today said, "I'm just going to take their oil."
Yes, exactly. That's all.
So
That's all it's about.
the
It's
the
about
part
oil.
of their own propaganda that they actually believed in, that they bought, is uh, this kind of arrogance, this false belief in their own omnipotence, this kind of idealism where they think that they can just will everything to happen and they are inherently greater
Hmm.
than the people they fight against. So, again, American presidents have been racist since
Very much
George
so.
McFucking Washington.
Very much
And there's not
so.
a single there's not a single American president that hasn't been racist,
Yeah, not even
including
Obama.
Obama.
Including
Not even
Obama. Exactly. Exactly. Including Obama.
same neuron, same
Same
neuron.
neuron. Because, like, he's the go-to example that liberals usually go to when they say, oh, but the best times, actually, when we fully came together as a nation, where we finally, fulfilled Francis Fukuyama's idea of the end of history. Well, we have our very first black president. And he
We
bombed the
finally
fuck out of
solved
the Middle East.
racism. We finally solved racism. We just need to have a dark-skinned president that kills Muslims as if it were a white president.
So, but this is exactly the same identity politics that gets us nowhere, right? Because you can't. This is the exact same ideology that says we need more black, gay, and female Gestapo officers. Yes. And then us communists come in and say there shouldn't be any Gestapo officers at all. And then the liberals say, why do you hate diversity? Like, and this is a Twitter argument. Bitch, what the fuck? That's a completely different statement. I like waffles. Oh, so you hate pancakes then? No. Right? So, and also I also want to also just quickly mention that when we say liberals, we are not coming from a place of conservatism. Also, none of us are conservatives.
Neither of us are Americans.
Neither of us are American. Neither of us. We hate the conservatives as well. We also hate the MAGA cultists as well. We are not coming from that side because
When we say liberals, we mean in the philosophical tradition that start with Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau.
And also Adam Smith and all that, and fucking
Well, Adam
Milton
Smith
Friedman.
did not start liberalism. He's
No.
later development.
Right, and like the Milton Friedman types, the.
Oh well, Milton Friedman's is. I mean, okay, but we're derailing. Let's go back to the point.
Yes.
The point is that every American president has been racist. Every American president has had some involvement in disrupting the governments of other countries and staging imperialism,
Including George Washington, but like from
starting
the very
from George Washington, yes.
From the very start. From the very start.
But and while they have all been racist, just because you're racist doesn't mean you're a full-blown measurehead racist for all my Disco Elysium fans in chat. There's multiple ways of understanding racism.
Indeed.
There is like the full-blown Nazi occultist racism where you think that it is literal and you actually truly fully believe that you have superpowers in your blood, like, as if you were some fucking chuny anime protagonist.
Yeah,
For the most part,
that's literally it.
For the most part, the people in the executive levels of U.S. government do not fall under that kind of racism. Mm-hmm. They just see racism as hatred, as a tool to divide vulnerable populations and extract more value from them.
Yes.
But they probably, and while they emotionally do have some instinctive dislike of different people and xenophobia and so on, they do not actually believe in a metaphysics of race.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But Pete Hexet most definitely does. Insofar as we can model his actions and his mind as something capable of having beliefs. The way Pete Hexet believes is very different from the way you or I, and I'm using the royal you, like to include everyone on chat, believe things. Like his mind is a messy mind full of alcohol poisoning.
Very true.
So when you have people who really buy in this myth of metaphysical supremacy and have these delusions of omnipotence, or that they can just do whatever and not care about understanding situations. When the bourgeoisie becomes alienated from its own power, then they do this kind of fascist clown shit and they become extremely vulnerable.
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely.
Hegel actually presented a metaphor for this. He called it the parable of the master and the slave. And
Right.
yeah, and when we're talking about Hegel, we're not talking about a full materialistic understanding, but
Right,
the
yeah.
parable stands more enough. So basically, Hegel provides a simple story to understand why revolutions happen. By the very mechanism of master and slave, and we hear master and slave, we're talking about people at the top and people at the bottom
Yes.
in all terms
The
of class
haves
history.
versus the have-nots,
Yes.
if you will.
So the masters become lazy because the whole point of class dominance is to have other people do the work for you.
Yep, exactly.
So the masters eventually forget how their own power works. Meanwhile, the slaves, who are the actual people who work and who understand how the tools that keep society running work and function, yes, their life is miserable, but they have a very keen understanding of how things work. They have to. Their survival depends on it.
Exactly.
So while there is a pressure for the slaves to become more cogent, smarter, more capable, there is an opposite force making the masters lazier, more complacent, more ignorant. So this point of crisis is inevitable
Under capitalism, yes. This is
under all class society.
under all
Like the
classes,
feudal
yes.
powers, the feudal powers also had this.
Of course,
Compare
yes.
Louis the 14th.
Louis XIV.
Louis the 14th,
French,
who was
right?
like the French in France. Louis the 14th was considered like the height of the early modern French royalty, with Louis the 16th. That's probably the example Hegel was thinking about. He loved Napoleon and he loved some French history. So Louis the 14th, very capable man, at being an asshole, but he was very capable of being an asshole.
Yes.
And a hunter, a statesman, he was the one that coined the phrase "I am the state." That's his level of hubris. But that hubris has to be backed up by something. And then we have Louis XVI, who was one of the first people who kissed Mademoiselle Guillotine.
Ah, yes.
And he was like, I don't know, what was it like? Was the grandson? I don't think it was a grandson. It was a grandson or grandnephew. Anyways,
Oh, yeah. I'm sure the specifics don't really matter too much.
the point is that the mechanisms of nepo babyism were at play there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially
While
because
Louis XIV was very cunning in his depravity and his abuse of other people, his descendants just lived in a lap of luxury and did not take up any of the understandings of what makes a state function.
indeed. So, because like that's what it is. Well, that was what the case oftentimes, especially with like feudalism and with kingdoms and shit. Because like you have a figurehead. You have one guy or sometimes one girl at the top calling all the shots. But like if the kid doesn't know anything about how to run, they're gonna get fucking stabbed, assassinated, overthrown. Right? They're gonna be incompetent. They're gonna be right? Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So what we're watching with the American Empire, what makes this war different, is that you have the people at Heritage Foundation
Heritage
and the
Foundation, yeah.
225. They seize state power, and you have a mixture of senile octogenarians
Up to what?
and senile octogenarians, people who are 80 and senile.
Ah, yes. Okay.
like people who just don't want to relinquish any form of privilege or power, even though when they are showing clear signs of mental decline,
Indeed.
much like Biden previously and
Oh yeah.
Diane, what's her name, Feinstein?
I don't. I'm not American.
Yeah,
Diane Feisty,
basically,
maybe. Yeah.
yeah, Diane Feinstein, basically a
Feinstein.
lady who
Yeah.
was, yeah, who was sorry, I did know the name, but I don't know how to pronounce it because English is a stupid language that doesn't have
English
any
is.
pronunciation rules.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, basically, uh, this lady who was carried in a wheelchair to pretend to sign something while a cadre of 20 to 30 something aides were doing all the work and deciding for her.
Hmm.
So you have this perfect storm of people who are either too young and too stupid and too much of a nepo baby to understand how the CIA and the FBI works in their dark and horrible machinations,
Hmm.
and an ancient, decrepit ruling class from the 40s that will not let other people do the work for them. And simultaneously, you have tech pros who are educated by what's his name again?
Elon Musk.
No. The people
Uh.
who educated Elon Musk, the guy
Um.
behind the Dark Alignment, Membius
Oh.
Malbach. No, the real name behind.
Oh, I don't remember what his name was. Oh God. Uh. They. They were some kind of like.
Curtis Jarvin. Curtis Jarvin.
Ah, yes. Okay. Thank you.
I know. Curtis Jarvin, who is the people who gave their ideology to entities such as Peter Thiel and Sam Altman,
Hmm.
basically providing an awful political education that is completely misguided, but feeds into that delusion of omnipotence
Hmm.
that this tech bro bourgeoisie want to achieve. So you have a ruling class that is incapable of meeting the level of understanding and action that their own power requires.
Indeed.
And that's why they no longer care about projecting any soft power or projecting any kind of plausible excuse as to what they're doing. They're outright saying, oh, no, we're just going to go to Iran. We're going to kill a bunch of innocent little girls and we're going to do war crimes. We're going to bomb dams. We're going to bomb bridges and hospitals,
We're gonna take their oil. We're gonna essentially fight Israel's war for them.
which is their war.
It
In the
is their
end,
war.
Israel is just a projection puppet state. I
That
mean,
is
it's not even
true.
a state.
Yes.
It's a.
Yes. True.
Anyways.
If the United States owns Israel, it's not the other way around. That is anti-Semitism. That is anti-Semitism. The United States owns Israel. Israel acts on behalf of the United States.
Yes, pretty much.
Yes, it's as they said. Israel is the United States' unsinkable aircraft carrier in the Middle East.
Yep, that's a good way of phrasing it.
Yes, exactly.
Um, so that is what makes this event difficult. That not difficult, different.
Different.
That the
Yes,
people who are waging this reactionary war are incredibly inept at what they are supposed to do,
unbelievably inept.
and that is gonna lead us to the counterintuitive. But that is the core of what I want to argue today. The counterintuitive position that if you live in the United States, you should cheer for Iran. Not because it's good, not because it's the morally right thing to do, which it is, but even beyond that. If you are in the United States, you should cheer for Iran because it is in your best self interest.
This also, I want to also add, this isn't to say, that you must be completely, you must like be, oh, but I love the Iranian government, or, oh, no, they're absolutely 1000% the good guys, or whatnot. No,
Yeah,
you
we're
don't
not
have to
making.
like Iran. Nobody is telling you that you need to start being in Iran's number one simp or anything, right? Nobody is saying that. This is this is a moment where you need to set aside your personal ideals and biases, because this is very clearly like Iran is defending itself. right? The United States is very clearly the aggressor, and there is no justification for bombing a girls' school with the intent to kill, right? This is what we would call critical support, right? This is what
Yeah,
we
but
call
but I'm not even talking about that today.
No? Okay.
No, because this is a different conflict than the one between Israel and Palestine, which is just straight up genocide.
Yeah, right.
I'm talking from purely a strategic and self-interest position, which is gonna like attempt to bypass any concerns people may have about Iran.
Right.
Because this is not about cheering for Iran or being on the right side of history. This is not even that. I mean, you should, ideally.
Yes.
But even if that doesn't convince you, and I'm not asking people to be selfless, I'm not asking people to self-sacrifice. I'm trying to
Yeah, no,
provide
don't do that.
optimism by saying,
Yes.
if you're in the United States, losing against Iran is one of the best things that can happen to you.
Exactly.
It may,
Yes.
yeah, it's not gonna be obvious at first, but it definitely doesn't feel like it because
Certainly not. No.
we're on April 6th. So the last tanker from Iran is gonna reach the United States. I think it's gonna reach Louisiana on the 16th of this month. So in 10 days, oil prices and plastic production are gonna fucking
Shoot through the
slam
roof.
high. Yeah, it's gonna be bad. So I specifically have the task of convincing people that's actually good.
Yes.
It's not intuitive, but that's what I want to try to do today.
Because we're trying to say that yes, even though this does appear bleak, this is the perfect time to be optimistic for the future. Because despite what we are seeing, and the fact that that the United States is losing the war, very obviously losing the war, that is not a bad thing. In fact, it would be even worse if the United States was winning against Iran. Because, not only because then that would just mean that there would be this genocidal regime that has killed 3 billion people, that has an ideology that has killed 3 billion people since its inception 500 years ago. Capitalism, not the United States, but the ideology of capitalism that has killed 3 billion people in its 500 years of existence. And the United States being the champion of the capitalism, that if the United States won against Iran, then that just means like another 20, 30 years of its existence. But the fact that they are losing against Iran, that's good, because then that means that not only will the United States lose, that not only will this empire, the greatest and the most evil empire in all of human history, is finally going to be declawed and maybe even collapse from its own hubris, but this also means that history will finally be allowed to progress. The United States and capitalism will not be there to prevent history from happening any longer, right? This can finally mean that maybe in a few decades, maybe in a few years, maybe even a few decades, maybe even like next year, if we're being optimistic, that could probably mean that you could finally get that vaccine from Cuba that is a preventative vaccine against lung cancer. You could finally get that vaccine from China where it's essentially a cure for diabetes. You could finally get access to Chinese robots, or maybe even, I don't know, different Russian candies, if we want to say that. We could finally have a multipolar world. That is good for everybody, right?
More
But
specifically, and very critically, I mean, maybe all that
I'm getting ahead of myself
high-sounding
also.
words of history advancing doesn't appeal to you. But I'm just going to appeal to raw self-interest.
Yes.
We need to do something about global warming.
Yes, actually, yes, climate change. Which may I also remind you that in the 2010s, in the 2000s and the 2010s, yeah, China was really fucking bad with climate change. They somewhat even made a brick out of all the pollution in the air. But since then, in recent years, China has done a great amount of work to fix that. China is now one of the cleanest countries in the world. Like the air quality index improved significantly. Like because they listened to their people and they said, okay, let's invest in green energy. Let's do solar panels. Let's do hydroelectric dams. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's abandon coal and other fossil fuels. Let's, go for long-term sustainability instead of, appealing to the oil and the coal industry and whatnot. And because of China, because of socialist China, communist China, if you want to call it that, because of them, they have bought us a few more years before we have reached the breaking point. Why were they able to do that? How were they able to do that? Because of socialism. Because of their strive towards a classless, stateless, moneyless society. They're not there yet, but they are making great improvements to that, great strides to that. And they actually listened to their people. And they bought us more time. Because they know that if we don't do anything about it, we're all fucked. So, yes,
so
self-interest.
I'm just appealing to strategic self-interest here. And just to complement what Solaris just said, one of my favorite factoids is that Shell, Exxon, and British Petroleum and many other governments, they knew about global warming in the 60s.
Oh, in the 60s?
And they spent, in the 60s, 1960s.
I thought it was the 70s. Oh my God.
No, 60s.
Damn.
Yeah, and they spent millions suppressing this and pushing for a petrodollar economy because it suited them, even though it is literally killing the world.
Literally killing the planet.
Anyways.
Yes. So...
so
back on track.
The point is, what we're trying to tell you is that there are reasons to be optimistic, but they involve a perspective that may not be intuitive, especially if you are from the United States. Indeed. But we want to try and make that case.
Yes.
That's why I brought up the help of Lenin.
Yes. That is the point of this also. We want to help you. We want you to come away from the stream feeling optimistic for the future. Feeling like, you know what? Maybe I do have a future. Maybe I don't just have to live day by day, week by week, month by month. Maybe, just maybe, life is worth living. That is what we want to, that is our goal here today. Samio, can we move on to the next slide?
Yep. So, Lenin basically starts with that sentence we had on screen for a whole time. And Lenin is right. He has a very straightforward style of writing. So that he considers a slogan, as he's going to defend that slogan. The context is that during World War I.
Yes.
His stance was, okay, like, fuck Germany. Germany is a bourgeois nation, and I don't like it. But I'm cheering for Germany during World War I against the Russians. Why, Mr. Lenin? Well, it's simple. Because the Tsar is my enemy.
Good question. Yeah, actually, I was very curious to learn about that. I actually did not recall that. I did not recall that in anything. So I was actually curious to hear what you said about that. Really? I mean, that does make sense.
Obviously, it's not that Lenin says, "Oh, but the Germans are imperfect." No, he doesn't care about that. He's just talking about pure strategy.
Indeed.
The man is fielding units. He's killing the Tsarist soldiers. He doesn't have time to wonder about whether the Germans are pure, perfect, small beans.
Yeah.
He's just stating factually, oh, I hope the Germans kick the forces of the Tsarists and they lose hard, which is going to make it easier for us to take over.
That makes sense. Because
that is a very simple argument.
We also want to keep in mind that this is World War I, right? This is not...
Yes.
Yeah, because this is that war where there were no good guys. It was just a giant dick measuring contest between the imperialist powers of Europe. right?
Yep.
Between Britain and France, between the German Empire, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey, right?
And Tsarist Russia.
And Tsarist Russia. Thank you. Yes. So like, I thought I should remind as well, right? Okay, please continue.
So Lenin basically is stumped when several people around him, including Trotsky, was like, "No, Lenin, you cannot say that. We have to defend Russia because we're Russians." And Lenin basically says, "No, Trotsky, you're stupid.
Yes.
We are Russians, but you need to think about where our interests lie. What is our strategy, not just vibes." So Lenin very coldly, calculating says, "Okay, I mean, what are our goals? We want to win. And winning for the Bolshevik forces means taking over the Russian state." Well, I mean, technically, it's not just the Russian state. We're talking about the Russian Empire,
The entire
which
Russian Empire.
includes places like Georgia and Ukraine.
Yes.
But the point is, they want to take over. They want to win. So why should Lenin feel any kind of patriotic animity towards the Tsar, towards the people who has pogroms, towards the people who has kept millions of Russian peasants in starvation farming?
Hmm.
No, like get over the idea that you owe anything to the people who oppress you.
You owe nothing to them. You owe nothing
Yeah.
to the United States
You-
government. You owe
Yeah,
nothing to Trump. You
we
owe
are in
nothing to
fact
Obama.
in an antagonistic relationship towards those powers.
Very much so.
So ultimately, if you want a better quality of life, if you want to not be murdered by ICE agents, if you don't want ICE agents, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say the language because that's what's happening and that's reality. If you don't want ICE agents to rape the people around you, to kidnap girls who may or may not be part of your family, or someone in chat might be one of those girls, and taken to some horrible detention center where they are raped and made pregnant against their will. If you want to stop that, and I really think you should, you want the defeat of the United States government.
Absolutely. Because when they are crippled abroad, wait, no, I shouldn't use that term. Is there a better term for that?
Wounded, incapacitated. Oh, that's the same issue, but yeah.
When they are getting their ass beat overseas, then that means that is less of the boot that is on your neck. It's not completely coming off, but it's lightening the pressure even so slightly. Right?
It's not even a passive thing as being allowed more room to breathe. What Lenin wants people to understand is that you have to take an active place if you want to be a part of a revolutionary class. Okay, what if I don't want to be a part of a revolutionary class?
Yes, like what if I just want to sit back? What if I just want to sit back?
Okay.
What if I'm scared? What if I don't know what I can do? What if I have what if I have asthma? What if I have a chronic illness? What if I'm unable to, pick up a gun, let's say?
And that's why we saw the Lady Easy Heart video. Okay,
yes.
Maybe you don't want to be part of the vanguard, but I have to ask you, I mean, emotionally, morally speaking, how can anyone be accepting of what the United States is doing in Palestine? How can you be accepting of what the American police does every day against people of color?
How could you be accepting of what they did in Vietnam or in Afghanistan or to the indigenous people who have been here for thousands of years?
Yeah. So we earlier mentioned that this is a precondition for everything that follows, that you have to understand that you are in an antagonistic relationship with the US government. And that means you want its defeat. You want to win over it. And ideally, you want to take over.
Yes.
And do things better. So if you understand that is your goal, then the best thing for that goal is to have a third power help you defeat this, your strategic class enemy.
Indeed.
The people of Iran are not hurting you.
Exactly. What's one
The American Gestapo are the ones hurting you.
Absolutely.
So I want to get into people this idea that Lenin also seems to have struggled with getting people to accept. You want the defeat of your class enemy. Just like he wanted the defeat of the Tsar, you want the defeat of the American government, not Trump. I'm not talking about Trump. I'm
Trump is
talking about the
only a
American
symptom.
government.
Trump is
Yeah,
a
I'm talking
symptom.
about,
Yes, please.
and that means that you want its defeat on multiple fronts. Okay, so we can go to the next slide.
Okay? Yes. What does that mean, Lenin?
It's a very simple argument once you get past the old timey words.
Mm-hmm.
Once you consider the government you live under as your enemy, and if you're in a bourgeois state, 95% of you should, you need to think, what are my goals? What do I consider a winning condition? Now, for the most part, the American population has had a tiered system in which, yes, the vast majority of the people in the United States are antagonistic, are in an antagonistic class relationship, but through the elements of concessions and racial chauvinism, and I'll explain what that means in a second,
Yes.
they have partially aligned the interests of, I'd say, 30% of the population with the interests of the top 5% of the bourgeoisie. So, what is racial chauvinism? Basically, a mental and emotional state in which usually white people
Usually white
are
people.
allowed to do violence and commit acts of supremacy against non-white people.
Anybody they deem as lesser, be it
Yeah.
indigenous people, be it Africans, be it Palestinians, whoever, it doesn't matter. As long as they see
Yes.
them as lesser, then
So part of the reason why the
freaking-
American working class has been so decrepit and so counter-revolutionary is because part of the bargain that the American government has had since its inception is that, okay, look, I, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, I'm the one to be at the top, and you're gonna pay me, and I'm gonna rule, and I'm gonna be the richest motherfucker around. But you will do what I say because the system I will keep in place will allow you to own slaves. And it will allow you to beat them and rape them as much as you want. And again, sorry for using that language, but I have to make it explicit.
yeah.
So that is an implicit contract that the United States has had with its so-called upper middle class.
Just gonna
And sure, maybe people in the upper middle class do not have overt slaves and do not have that kind of impunity explicitly. But I need to remind you that segregation was still a thing in the 60s.
indeed, yeah. Literally, like my mother was alive when there was segregation. This is still a
Yeah.
very new thing, right? There were even color photos of the event. This isn't ancient past. This isn't an ancient history or whatnot. This is still, in the grand scheme of things, relatively recent.
Yeah, Joe Biden and Donald Trump were raised under segregation. That's why they are racist pieces of shit. I mean, for many
Exactly.
reasons, was that one of them?
That is one of them, yes. Because people are the sum of their experiences and of the material conditions in which they find themselves in.
So
Right.
ultimately, I mean, I cannot convince you, or I cannot tell you what your interests are.
Right.
I can try to argue that they should be more humane, more loving, more compassionate. I should argue that you should not want to get into the racist contract. But let's assume you are a white, crusty, upper middle class bastard, and you are a purely selfish entity. Okay, let's assume even that.
Holden Blood Feast.
Yeah, let's assume you're Holden Bloodfist Jr. because Holden Bloodfist has to be 101 years old.
Yes.
So even let's assume you're a shit person and you are only looking for yourself and your own self-benefit. Okay, fine. Even then, unless you are part of the really, really rich people who already have an escape plan, like Mark Zuckerberg or Peter Thiel and so on,
Yeah.
the racial chauvinism contract will expire soon or is already expiring. And that is really what all the fears about the great replacement theory are about. I should add, but that's for another day.
Right.
Even if you're a selfish piece of shit, you should really think about what is going to happen because the US empire is declining. And the sooner it falls, and the quicker we can get to divesting into a world that is not dependent on the petrodollar and causes all this global warming bullshit,
Yes.
the better. Because no matter how nihilistic or selfish you are, global warming, if not treated, will start causing incredible harm and suffering and poverty and misery as early as 2030.
Yeah. And we're already starting to
Okay.
see signs of it, like,
Yes.
long before. Like, there were some island nations, like in Marshall Islands and Palau, they're starting to sink. Not really sink,
Yeah.
but more, not really sink because the ground isn't going down. The sea level is rising. So
Yep.
they're losing their homes, and then that creates another migrant crisis. Then what's the closest place? Well, if it's American Samoa or something like that, or if it's Guam, they'll probably go to the U.S. But the U.S. doesn't like immigrants, so it's like you're creating a problem and you're making this worse. So it's like, and also just in general, if you're on the coastal regions, or unless you're in like high up in the mountains, this is going to affect you. You are probably, the water level will slowly and surely rise and rise until Florida is completely underwater, before there's barely anything left of Italy, before the Netherlands is completely, the Netherlands has been turned into Atlantis. Like, this shit is going to be personal. This is going to be a personal matter. But by the time we let it get that far, it will already be too late. There is nothing that we can do that will unmelt the ice caps. Right?
Yeah, even if you're a selfish dick, you should start considering the US government as your enemy. Statistically speaking, no one who will watch this is actually part of the top bourgeoisie, Epstein class people. So,
hi, CIA.
yeah, just their lackeys.
Yeah.
So, okay, even if you're a selfish dick, you should start considering the US government as your class enemy.
Indeed.
Yeah. And ideally, you're not just a selfish dick. You're a person that has some integrity, some morals, some compassion, and some interest in seeing a better world.
Yes.
So, as simple as we can put it, if you want to defeat A, in this case the US government, and B, in this case Iran, weakens A, that benefits you. That's it. End of discussion. No talking about, well, what Iran, the Islamic regime, and no.
That's a completely different
We're
conversation.
discussing strategy. We're discussing strategy.
Yes.
If you want to defeat A, you will also benefit Iran. Because if you weaken the United States, that benefits Iran. That is an undeniable side consequence of this strategic truth.
That will be one less bomb. Very few. That'll be completely erasing the bombs that are dropping on even more school children. That will be prevented. That will be even less bombs that are falling on Tehran from Israel, right?
So if you care about Iranian freedom and democracy, if you care about Iranian lives, as many liberals claim to do, you want to defeat the United States.
And also not advocate for bringing back the Shah, which, that's a monarchy. By default, a monarchy is not a democratic nation, for fuck's sake.
Which the United States put in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly. Fucking, yes. But yes.
Okay, so we can go to the next slide.
The conversation of, well, but Iran is problematic. That's a completely different conversation. That is not relevant to what we are talking about right now, right?
Yeah, we're just discussing strategy.
Iran is collateral damage to the United States. The United States is our enemy, right? As of right now, we share enough common interests with Iran that we share a common interest with Iran, so we should not be holding up our pitchforks and torches to the Iranian regime. That can come far, far, far later when the United States is not a threat for us. But even then, but that's a separate conversation of like, we shouldn't be advocating for regime change anyway, because as one Chinese netizen put it, an egg cracked from the outside is food, an egg cracked from the inside is new life. Right? Does that make
Yep.
sense? Yes. So, yeah. Slide 4?
Yeah, it's like next slide.
Okay. Oh, exceptions. There we go.
So Lenin says, okay, let's assume, let's be dialectical and think about, okay, what could make this slogan false? Okay, he says, okay, I can see 3 exceptions. Okay, I says Lenin, I started with this saying that in a reactionary war, we should not cheer for our country. We should cheer for the defeat of our country. Okay,
Yes.
so what if this is not a reactionary war?
Okay. What if this is not?
Okay. Well, in his case, it was the German-Russian war in World War II,
Yeah.
World War I, sorry.
The German
That was a
Empire,
reactionary war.
Kaiser, all that stuff. Yeah.
That was an even more thorny aspect because those were 2 reactionary forces fighting each other.
Yeah.
In
Exactly.
this case, the war we're analyzing is the United States against Iran, and the United States is clearly the more reactionary force.
Yes, exactly.
By far.
Like far worse. Like we're comparing a dog that has we're comparing a dog that maybe has a bit of a biting problem with a bit of aggression versus a rabid fucking wolf, right? One that, like, yeah, they're both problematic, but one is significantly worse. One is actively
and it's
going
not
to
even-
kill people.
It's not even a difference in the scale of violence, it's a difference in the function.
Right.
What
yes,
the United
that too.
States does is enforce the rule of international capital around the world.
Yes, absolutely.
Iran has no business or interest in doing that.
Right, yeah, because, like, when was the last time Iran overthrew a democratically elected leader? When was the last time China did? When was the last time Russia did? That's, well, I mean, I'm not so sure about Russia, but the other two, I can confidently say that has not happened in their current leadership.
So the reactionary force in this war is clearly the United States.
Yes.
They are the aggressors, and it is a war that, as Trump has clearly stated, leaves no doubt as to the reactionary purpose of this war. So exception 1, thrown away. This is a reactionary war.
Yes.
Okay, exception 2. What if a revolution, what if the possible revolution of in the United States is impossible? What if there's no hope
Well,
for a revolution coming from this conflict?
that's the thing, is that with the United States, it seems really bleak, and also because there has not been an example that was even pretty close to the situation happening in the United States. One could say that maybe the closest example could be French Algiers, or maybe Rhodesia, apartheid South Africa, and who knows, maybe hopefully one day Palestine against Israel. But those are recent settler colonial regimes. The United States is 250 years old, so the material conditions are a little bit different. But again, I want to mention that one I don't remember who said this, but she said the capitalism seems inescapable, but so did the divine right of kings seem inescapable. And also, before the revolution, it feels like it would be an impossibility, but after the revolution, it seems like it would be an inevitability.
Okay, so this is where the optimism comes from.
Yes.
It is not going to be a one and done thing.
No.
But if Lenin, with 0.0015% of the population, could take control of an empire that is larger than the US in terms of land mass. Yeah, in terms of land mass. I do not see it as far-fetched that a revolution in the United States is possible.
But the other thing that we might need to also consider, though, I don't know if this is necessary, but I'm doing a little bit of I guess not really devil's advocate, but more like liberals in the walls kind of screaming questions, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too is that Russia the majority of the population was Russian, right? But with the United States, but Russia was not a settler colonial regime in the same way the United States was. The large majority of people are white, yes, but the problem is that this is indigenous land. Shouldn't this land, shouldn't this revolution belong to the indigenous people? But again, that is not a question for someone like me to answer, though, but this is something that also has been on my mind for a while, though. I don't know if this is a big side tangent that we could tackle, or if this is something we have to address later. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's related because I don't know if it belongs. I don't know if I will use that term. But I think that an American revolution, a revolution in American soil is possible.
Yes.
And that native groups have shown forms of organization that can resist and can be studied and understood and employed to deal blows against the United States.
That and the Black Panthers, yes.
Yeah, so you don't need to overthrow the entirety of the US in a single night.
No, of course
It
not.
starts with pockets of resistance.
Right.
And those pockets of resistance already exist. And the native peoples have a good example of that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Ultimately, let's just assume, let's assume that a revolution in the United States is not possible.
Okay, let's go with that assumption, that bleak assumption.
It's rather bleak, but...
Yes. But it's for the sake of conversation.
We are not in a situation where even that applies as cleanly as before, because even then, your material benefit as a citizen of the United States points to the American side losing and the petrodollar weakening because of the climate change argument.
Yes.
We spoke about.
Right.
Even then, even if revolution were impossible, and by revolution I mean social revolution.
Yes.
Also, I'm not saying revolution is impossible forever. Like, revolution is always possible. In fact, it is a certainty.
Right.
We're talking about specifically a revolution stemming from this war.
Right. Okay.
So, even if this war is not the flashpoint necessary to bring about a revolution in the United States, which I personally believe is possible, but even if it isn't, you should still cheer for the defeat of the United States because it benefits you as someone who wants to live past 2032.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is going to weaken the petrodollar. It is going to harm you in the short term. It's going to make things more expensive. It's going to make some treats less accessible. But one, the disposable income for 85% of the United States is already shrinking.
Yes, indeed. With
the United States is already waging war against you by tariffs. The tariffs that Trump made were basically an extra tax on the working class.
Have you ever wondered why the Nintendo Switch 2 is so damn expensive? Well,
Yeah.
that's part of it.
That's part of it. So
Hi, Zeta.
you were already going to lose those streets anyways. The economy was already going to get worse for you. Might as well get some extra years of time against climate change out of it.
Right.
So even if a revolution is possible, it is still in your best interest to embrace revolutionary defeatism. Okay, and there's the third possibility. Okay, but which is like the opposite of the second one. What if I am actually part of a revolutionary group and I am coordinating with the Kurds and we're gonna stage revolution at the same time in both countries? Yeah,
that's...
we can go to the next slide. What if three happens?
Slide.
What if simultaneously we provide a revolution in the United States and Iran at the same time? We're coordinating, supposedly. Okay, so we already went over this. It is very much a reactionary war.
Yes, absolutely 100% reactionary.
And the main argument that the revolution stemming from this is possible is that if Iran wins and the petrodollar shock is felt around the world, we're already seeing that Iran and Russia are moving to the yuan. So the fall of the petrodollar will signal the beginning of the end of the United States in a way that seems fantastical, but it will. So this is a big source of cope for me.
And for a lot of us too, not just you.
Yeah. Well, now we can go to the third counter argument.
The third counter argument. Which slide? Oh yeah.
Next slide. Yeah.
Oh, the next slide. Okay.
Which is the fantasy of what if you say, oh, but we should cheer for Iran to fall because I am coordinating with the revolutionary groups there, and we're going to simultaneously bring a revolution both in Iran and the United States, which is an argument that the people who Lenin was arguing with said about Russia and Germany. We should not cheer for Germany because we have coordination with the revolutionary groups in Germany, and they're going to totally back us up. And that didn't happen. In fact, what happened to Rosa Luxemburg?
The Social Democrats, the liberals, betrayed her.
Yeah. So it turns out that the people who said, oh, no, the revolutionary groups we've been coordinating with in Germany, they're going to help us out. No, they're going to sell them out.
Sell out. Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, is there a coordination between revolutionary groups in United States and Iran possible to simultaneously overthrow the Islamic nation and the United States at the same time? Fuck no. No.
Yeah, no.
There's no signs of international organization at such a scale necessary.
That is pie in the sky, to use an old-timey term. That is pie in the sky.
I even posed the question, does the US even have such a revolutionary group that could even claim to do such a thing? No, said Intel Pro.
No, they haven't had anything like that since the Black Panthers were completely destroyed.
Yeah, and we're not talking about a revolutionary group by itself. We're talking about a revolutionary group that has an international scale, an organization strong enough to coordinate a revolution in the United States and Iran at the same time.
Indeed.
No, COINTELPRO has weakened the formation of any such organization in the United States.
For those of the people in chat who possibly don't know, what is COINTELPRO?
COINTELPRO stands for Counterintelligence Program. It's a long-standing FBI anti-communist program.
Anti-vaguely leftist, also.
I mean...
No?
Not really, because one of the main tactics of COINTELPRO is to infiltrate leftist groups and provide a fake acceptable left.
Ah, right, yes. That's
so true. It is very much explicitly a counter-communist program.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, COINTELPRO are the people who killed Malcolm X. They're the people who killed Huey.
Huey, yeah, they killed Huey Newton.
Yep.
Rupert says, I see a lot of liberals on Blue Sky argue that they don't want to do anything that could pose a risk to them because they want to avoid a worse outcome of state violence, as if that wouldn't happen anyway. Yeah, that's actually something that I've seen often too. It's like, I don't want to do anything because I don't want to poke the bear because then I'm going to get fucking mauled. But the bear is mauling us anyway. The bear is going to maul you anyway.
Not only that, if we look at the examples of the Russian Revolution, the level of violence that emerges from within Russia, very, very, very specific, from within Russia after the revolution is way less than the level of violence before the revolution. The violence in the Soviet Union came from outside.
Almost always outside.
Yeah, it came from counter-revolutionary forces from the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not even the talk about like the sanctions and sabotage that the Soviet Union went through. That's a completely different conversation.
Yeah, and if your goal is to avoid violence, I have to point at ICE. I have to point at Homeland Security.
Exactly. Like, yeah.
The violence is already happening. There is no worst possible state.
If you're worried that like, oh, I can't bite back because then I'll just get mauled by the bear from poking it. Hey, thank you for the follow. You're now a superstar. Like, if that is what you're worried about, what the fuck is happening now? What is your opinion on ICE? What is your opinion? ICE fucking blackbagging people. What was your opinion during the mass eruption of pro-Palestinian protests where the United States was basically blackbagging people and carrying them off into jails and such? Like, that is violence. That is what you were worried about. Are you worried like for something very specific to happen? Are you looking specifically for a Nazi Germany level of explicit violence? Like, are you looking for doors to be banged down and people literally being dragged out of the homes while the police shoot the rest of the family members while
That's already happening.
while that person is dragged off to fucking Guantanamo Bay? That's already happening. It's been happening to black people and people of color for decades. For decades. It's just that now it's happening to white people, but it's happening to white people and that's what they're scared of. But there is nothing that the United States is going to do there's nothing that's going to stop the United States from doing that. They are going to continue getting violent. Non-violence, as Kwame Ture once said it, aka Stokely Carmichael, as he once said, non-violence is a tactic, not a policy. And non-violence only works if your opponent has a conscience. The United States does not. The United States will continue to get violent regardless of if you cooperate with the police, but when you get hauled away into some unmarked prison. Like, this non-violent shit's gonna get you killed, essentially.
So earlier we talked about learned helplessness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Learned helplessness.
And but we also saw a video where once the fiction of legality peels away as an emotional truth, not mental, because we already know mentally that legality is gone in the United States. There's no rule of law. But once it is gone as an emotional regimentation of a critical mass of people, once people actually start getting organized and raiding supermarkets, which they should, I didn't say anything, and you didn't hear anything. And if you see people doing that, you didn't see them.
I did not see it. I do not hear it.
The possibility of these kinds of violent acts can also benefit you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're not making a moral argument today, this time. We're making a strategic argument. We're saying this benefits you.
Indeed.
Also, whether or not you want to do anything, the oil shock is already coming.
It's coming.
The ruling powers that be already have created a situation where an oil shock that's going to make the 70s look trivial is already coming. That is unavoidable.
For those of you who aren't aware, there was a massive oil crisis in the 70s affecting the United States and the UK. That's where the whole British saying of "no future" came from, because that was their primary source of capital was Iranian oil, and now that that's gone, then there's no future. But they found oil off the coast of Scotland or something, and then they're fine again. But this is worse than that. So this is going to be significantly worse. As Samuel said, this is going to make the 70s oil crisis look like a tea party, essentially.
So the situation has been forced upon people that they have to act. It's no longer whether you can stay and minimize the harm. The harm is already coming.
Yes.
The harm is minimized when you yourself take up arms and strategically use violence to get what you need.
Strategically, right? We're not.
Yeah,
we're not advocating for. For the sake.
Also, when I say violence, I'm not saying hurting people.
Yeah, no, not hurting people. Do not kill. Do not kill. Twitch, we are not advocating for violence. We are not advocating for murder. Twitch, we're not doing that. This is a educational stream. We are not doing such a thing.
More like seizing property.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
That's a good enough euphemism for.
Yes. seizing property. There you go.
The property you need to live. Anyways,
Private property, not personal
so
property.
we have concluded that this conflict, the U.S.-Iran conflict of 2026, is a reactionary conflict. There is the possibility of a revolution, and there is no coordination between the United States and Iran as a revolutionary group. Therefore, it is a reactionary war, and therefore we should cheer for the defeat of the reactionary element, which is the United States.
Yes.
So this is from the April thesis. It's a companion book to the revolutionary defeatism.
Sorry, was it the April thesis that you said?
Yes. Yes.
What a coincidence.
Yep. So the point is, I think number 2 is the most salient counterexample. Okay, why should I cheer about America? Why should I cheer about America's defeat? Why should I embrace a revolutionary defeatism
Yes.
if I do not believe a revolution is possible? Well, Lenin says, you cannot make a revolution in the sense that a revolution is not an algorithm. It's not a recipe. It's not something you can trigger at will, as if you were just scratching your arm. It develops out of a number of complex events, diverse phenomena, aspects, features, characteristics, and consequences of the imperialist war. That development, however, is impossible without a series of military reverses and defeats of the governments that receive blows from their own oppressed class. So, okay, maybe this conflict will not trigger the revolution, but it's a step in the way.
Very much so. Very much a stepping stone to something greater.
Yeah, even if it's not the one that triggers it, it's going to be a large compounding factor that is going to keep building and building until it finally causes a state collapse, which is the crisis event which triggers a revolution.
Right. Hey, Samuel. I'll be right back. I need to take care of something real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Good luck. Da, 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 da.
Okay, we're back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Where were we?
We're so back.
We are so back. Okay. We are back. Where were we?
We're talking about how, okay, maybe this one is not the one that triggers the revolution, but it's still gonna be part of a chain of events that weakens the state and makes the revolution more possible, if not this time, the next time. And this collapse can be hastened by internal pressure as well. So even if a revolution were totally impossible, which we cannot determine a priori.
Right.
Even then,
Take yours, Zeto.
a priori means before the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we were to somehow believe that revolution is not possible now, exerting pressure from the inside against the United States helps make it more likely as time goes on. It's not a matter of like a domino. It's a matter of pressure.
Ah, okay.
Okay, we can go to the next slide.
Okay. Ah, did it? There we go.
Yeah.
We were at slide 7. We're on slide 8 now, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's think about okay. If not revolutionary defeatism, what else? What other stance or posture can we take? Okay, Lenin says, what other substitute is proposed for the defeat slogan or revolutionary defeatism as a stance? Okay, neither victory nor defeat. What does that remind you of, Solaris?
neither victory nor defeat. The only thing that's coming to my mind is the people who say neither Moscow nor Washington, but that's probably just mostly the census structure.
No, it is exactly the same.
Oh. Wait, what? Hold on. Wait, what?
Victory means, in this case, United States. Defeat, in this case, means Russia. Or Ukraine, Russia, or
the US,
United States and
the
China,
USSR,
or
we
United
could say
States.
for convenience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the same ethos. It's okay. In this conflict, I want to neither support Iran nor the United States.
Okay.
Neither victory nor defeat. Okay, but what does that actually get you to?
What does that accomplish?
It only accomplishes the renunciation of the class struggle by the oppressed people in all these countries. Because again, Lenin reminds us, we want our governments to lose.
Yeah, exactly. We want the Tsar and the Tsarist regime to lose, and we want the American Epstein class to lose, right? So a statement like this
means that you want this regime to remain intact in a state of suspended conflict limbo where it doesn't win completely but is neither defeated completely.
It's also a person throwing their hands up and backing out of the conversation entirely as well.
Yeah. Which ultimately means you're acting in accordance to the interest of your ruling class, which makes you a counter-revolutionary.
Indeed. Rather unfortunately, though, but that is the truth.
So the people who say neither Beijing nor Washington...
But really Washington.
Yeah, they're really Washington because Washington already exists and you are tolerating the existence of Washington. And again, the conflict is already present. You cannot escape the conflict. You cannot pretend there is a possible situation in which you can defeat the United States without supporting without benefiting Beijing or Iran
or Tehran or
that's not how strategic interest works. If you live in the United States and you're part of the 90% of the working class, the bottom 90%, you may have some feelings about benefiting Russia or whatever.
Or in this case, Tehran.
Who the fuck cares? Like, really? It's not a moral choice. It's a strategic concern.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, harming the United States is going to benefit Russia. Okay, it's going to benefit Putin. Oh no, we're the Putin dick riders now. We're riding dicks.
Oh God.
Yeah, but
yes,
that is true. That is conflating a moral or cheerleading position with a strategic one. My interest lies in overthrowing the government that is oppressing me, not in scoring moral points and being blameless and having the best moral stance. So what if by harming the United States I benefit Putin? That does not say anything about my character. We're not talking about being perfect and morally righteous all at once. Again, Lenin is trying to remind us this is a problem of strategy. Mm-hmm. Going against the Tsar doesn't mean you are secretly a German dick rider. Going against the United States
doesn't mean you're pro-Kaiser or whatever.
Exactly, yes. So this slogan, this mind-terminating cliche of neither victory nor defeat, just some third thing where everything remains exactly the same,
In that
is
imaginary world where the world without lawyers from The Simpsons, that doesn't exist.
yeah. Furthermore, it reveals that you are in truth, maybe not opposition, maybe not a benefit, but in a third neutral thing with your oppressing class. Means you are willing to tolerate them for the sake of not losing.
In other words, it's saying I don't want to have an opinion. Hey, Sock now, thank you for the follow. That's like saying I don't want to have an opinion on this. I just want things to go back to business as usual, which
Yeah, but
that's an
business as
opinion of the
usual,
bourgeoisie.
business as usual is a class truce.
It's a class truce. Again, yes, exactly.
It means you're willing to passively tolerate a class that is antagonistic towards you. And we cannot go to business as usual because, again, the global warming argument.
The climate change argument. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Business as usual got us here in the first place. Exactly. Viva la
So
revolution.
so there
See?
really is no third stance. You're either supporting the government that oppresses you or you are supporting its defeat. Those are the only real choices. What matters is the degree.
Indeed.
Tolerance towards the power that dominates you is supporting it because you're still existing in the United States, paying taxes, consuming things, enriching the people that seek to dominate you. So once you're part of a society, a class society, passive existence means supporting that class system.
Mm-hmm.
So there are no stances. You either embrace revolutionary defeatism or you're supporting your side, quote unquote, on this war. We can go to the next slide.
Okay. Here we go. Slide 9. There we go.
Basically, making very clear or expanding on what choices we have.
Right.
So either you disrupt class society or you don't. And if you disrupt class society, you are part of class struggle.
So
And if
in
Mhm.
this
Go
in
ahead.
this case, in the modern example, in the modern context. So somebody, for example, who works a 9 to 5, who can afford like maybe can go to the cafe and get a $6 burrito every once in a while.
Mhm.
Maybe somebody who supports Palestine but is too afraid to go to a protest go to a protest that is ends up getting surrounded by cops. Like, what can they do? Like, in terms of all this.
So um, the first thing that comes to mind is tax evasion.
But the problem is that we can't that's something that they monitor very carefully and that we can't really do
I
they
mean,
can't really
you,
get
you
away
can
with that
evade
like
taxes if you're rich.
if you're rich, but what if you're
Yeah.
just an ordinary person though? You're just an average Joe who wants to help but doesn't want to but doesn't want who wants to help but is too afraid, doesn't know what to properly do, or doesn't
Well, I
want to be
mean,
part of this class truce.
I don't know. I don't know about the afraid part. That's getting to the emotional side of things.
Right, yeah.
Um,
That's true, right.
and that's just like a very case by case basis. You have to understand what makes people fear. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
we could engage in conjecture. I mean,
Right.
which we certainly could. But in more practical terms,
Mm-hmm.
um, we're gonna start from the very beginning. Okay, what are our strategic goals? We want to live.
Yes.
That's like the most basic
We
element. We
want to
want to remain alive.
we want to
We
yeah.
want to have what is euphemistically called as quality of life.
Yes.
We want to have a life that is psychologically tolerable, that is not existentially barren,
Indeed.
So, in order to achieve that, we need to overthrow class society because class society makes life unbearable. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the opposite of
The opposite of
ocio? Sorry, I'm thinking in Spanish.
ah
Um, leisure. The opposite of leisure.
leisure. The opposite of leisure. Um, stress. Work, like constant work.
Yes, that's in yeah.
Enslavement.
So it's not work because work by itself is not bad.
Right.
But when you have to look at your life and you see, oh, for the first 16 years of my life, I went to school where I had not much of a say on what I did, on what's going on. Probably an abusive, insufficient education system. And then for the next 40 to 50 years of my life, there is nothing else to look forward to except constant dredge work. That's the
Right.
word I was looking for, dredge.
Dredge work. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then die because I will never be able to afford enough money to pay for healthcare, and I will die at the first health complication I have once I'm 60, and that's the entirety of my life.
Right.
Sure, that might be tolerable when you are a 20 something eating a $6 burrito, but if you mentalize it and think about that is the entirety of my life, of what my life is going to be, I find that completely unbearable.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
what can that person do? That person has to do away with class society.
Absolutely.
So that's our goal. We have to do away with class society. We have to embrace class struggle, and we have to fight for a better world, which we can see can exist. Is not a fantasy. Already is showing that it is possible in actually existing socialist countries, such as the DPRK, such as China,
Cuba
and so
and
on.
Vietnam. Right.
Yep.
Even Laos, if we want to go with the
Yeah.
unmentioned
I
ones.
mean, Cuba is not that good of an example. What I'm trying to say because it is
Well,
being strangled
well,
by the
right.
United
Yeah. Well,
States.
right now it's not a good example, but like
But
historically.
if it were allowed to flourish,
Oh,
it
if it
would
were allowed
be
to flourish, it would be
a
fucking
gem.
beautiful.
It will be the gem of the Caribbean. Anyways,
The diamond of the Caribbean. Yes.
so like really, what you want to do is become some sort of revolutionary force.
Right. Yes.
Maybe not part of a vanguard. Maybe you do not have the physicality to engage in urban warfare guerrilla.
Mm. Urban guerrilla warfare. Yeah.
But what you can do is think that your life can have meaning and value by uh, contributing to the revolutionary struggle, to the end of class society, to the end of domination and tyranny. And that
Indeed.
can start with opening a food kitchen,
Or volunteering at one. Right.
volunteering at one, talking to other people, even just like I read a tweet recently that was painful but really good from a comrade.
Okay.
That starts with that explains how the most basic things can be useful, and even the most basic things are difficult. I'm about to find it. Don't worry. It's
Okay.
not that long ago, and I barely use Twitter anymore because
Yeah.
fuck that
Fair.
site. Still good for news though, sadly.
Very fair.
Yeah, the problem, well, not the problem, but a problem, is that we're telling everyone to start organizing, but we are so atomized that most need to follow a different first step: get to
Hmm.
know people.
Yeah.
Get to know people and bring them together. The evil shadow twin of organizing is networking.
Ah, yes. Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
Hey, Solaris, how did we two meet?
We met through Futakuchi Mana's Discord server.
And that is a form of networking.
Yes.
Now, it's not the
Oh
best,
yeah.
and we
Yeah.
both are clearly fringe cases because we are hell autistic.
Yeah, basically.
But here we are. We organized, and we're now on Twitch talking about revolution and theory and promoting the good word, even just a little tiny bit.
Even just a little bit, yeah. Every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps. So, what can Mr. John Burrito, who earns a little more than minimum wage but is concerned about Palestine and doesn't know what to do? Well, organize. And to organize, you first need to get to know more people.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get to know more people who are into this kind of shit, revolution, Marxism, and so on.
The type of people who are concerned and want to do something but feel completely directionless, and this could help steer them in the right direction, perhaps.
Yeah. Even just networking, even the most basic act of forming social networks, social webs, is a thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the revolution comes, and it will, maybe you won't be part of the vanguard. Maybe you don't want to. That's fine. I mean, it would be cool if you strive to that. That's going to make things easier. But even if you don't
don't get
want to,
yourself killed. You don't need
yeah,
to be a
no.
hero.
We're not talking about adventurism. We're not talking about throwing molotovs at cops.
Yeah. While that is
We're talking
cool,
about,
still keep yourself safe, though.
yeah,
Be
it's cool.
strategic
It's cool when you do it with a plan.
with a plan. Yeah, if there's strategy behind it, because
Exactly.
because adventurism and adventurism and all that type of stuff is anarchist talk, right? It's directionless. It's completely directionless.
It's also vaguely leftist. I mean, I've seen
Yeah,
some
true.
people from Boba Bakian's cult that celebrate that. We can talk about Boba Bakian's cult later, seeing that we touch upon COINTELPRO.
Oh yes, of course.
Okay, so
Terrorist
yeah,
adventure. Yeah, no, you're right, Rupert. But
when crisis
Cuba's very
comes,
liberal right now. We're not going to talk about that. We're not talking about
yeah, no,
that.
it's not for today,
That is
but
not for today.
yeah, we can discuss it later.
I, we're talking about something else. Okay.
Yeah, even just the mere act of networking is going to save your ass when crisis hits, because people taking care of people is what society is about. Whoops, sorry.
Absolutely. Oh, no, you're fine.
So yeah,
Okay.
just even start with networking as a practice. Get to know people, make friends, be an Undertale.
Be Frisk Undertale. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
I mean,
god.
that's just the beginning. You can do more, like participate in communal kitchens, give free classes,
Yes.
create more community events.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can do Brechtian theater.
A book club, and maybe even a movie night, I guess.
I
Showing.
will start with social theater with Americans, because
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
yeah, reading is harsh right now, man.
Reading is very hard, especially with
Yeah,
TikTok, and also with smartphones. Well, and even I acknowledge that it's affected me also, because when I was on your
it's
stream, trying to you were trying to educate me about I don't remember what it was, but it was something.
why rational arguments are not as convincing as we were told they would be.
Yes, that's true. That was what it was. I had to pull up Subway Surfers. I had to like play beta Minecraft to fucking pay attention. I was
Well, I mean, it's
that
a
whole
very
time that whole time I was digging a hole.
philosophically dense text.
Yeah.
And you have ADHD. It's understandable.
Yes.
It's a fringe case. But
Yeah,
I mean, we can start with theater. Social theater was a big thing in the 20s and 30s.
So like entertainment streams, for example.
Oh, I'm talking more physical, more communal minded.
Okay.
Basically, grab some wooden pallets, and some old sheets, and make a impromptu theater stage in the middle of the street, and make and stage a play, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Rupert says, used to follow this guy called Red Army Dog, one of the best American accounts dedicated to all those programs. Huge inspiration, but sadly no longer with us. Rip.
That's
Account still around and documents a lot of work done with the chairwoman and him in their community. Okay, that's a cool link. Maybe you can share.
Yeah, you can slide it our direction if you feel comfortable with it.
Okay,
Yep.
so
So back to this. Now we're back
that's
on
the most
track.
basic thing,
Yep.
and we'll get to the increasingly more committed things.
Of course.
So ultimately, what I want people to get over is the idea that, um, oh, but if you wish for the collapse of the USA, you are promoting all of its enemies. Yeah, I am. So what?
Or another argument is like, well, if you support the collapse of the USA, you're advocating for harm for your fellow neighbor or something like that. I once heard the
Yeah,
argument.
that is a more convincing argument. But the thing is, no, it isn't. Like that's a good argument because I actually have to contend with it. I have to prove that
Yes,
things will get better.
that
But
is
that leads
true.
us into revolutionary optimism.
Yes.
Part of the reason why we love reading Lenin, not just because he's a great writer and a
And
generally kick-ass dude,
and a Jim Bro also who love cats. We love that.
and a major wife guy, yes.
Oh yeah,
All of
yeah.
those things are true.
Krupskaya absolutely
But
loved him. You can see it in her book Reminiscence of Lenin. But anyway,
but also because the Russian Revolution has lots of examples of how quickly life got better. Life in the former Russian Empire in the 20s and 30s before World War II increased in quality in such a tremendous speed. I mean, part of the reason is that because the comparison is Russian Tsar, in which people swam in shit and died.
in which there were famines every other week.
Yes,
In which
but
Tsar Nicholas II killed
mhm,
like millions upon millions of Jews anyway. So it's like,
yeah,
yeah, like,
yeah,
and compare that to the Soviet Union, where education from daycare to university was all completely free and paid for by the government. Where rent was 3% of your income. Where like women's liberation was a thing that was genuinely being attempted, and I mean they succeeded a lot, but they also made some mistakes. But the fact that they tried is still monumental,
yeah. But
right?
again, we're not arguing whether the Soviet Union were communist or not.
No,
Where they,
they were
I don't
socialists.
know, that's for another day. Which
Right.
those discussions do have a time and place, so we
Yeah,
can learn from their mistakes.
of course.
But right now, we're just trying to show that things can get better very quickly, far
Very.
more quickly than it will seem otherwise. We have the examples of Russia, and we have the examples of China, and we have the
The
examples of Vietnam.
and Cuba also, right?
Yeah, Cuba for a bit, sadly. Then, well, yeah.
What about Yugoslavia? Hmm. What about Yugoslavia? I don't know
I
much about
mean,
it. I don't know much about it personally.
yeah, they also did way better at first. I mean, they had a bit of a Nazi problem,
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
and look, I'd rather exist in a war without Nazis. So
Me too, man. Cheers, I'll drink to that.
So yeah, I mean, Sagno has a point. It's not as clear cut as the other examples of
Mhm.
Russia, Vietnam, China.
Indeed, indeed.
But I don't need to prove that it's always going to work because I can't. I mean, as Lenin said, revolution is not an algorithm. It's not a recipe you can follow blindly without focusing on the context. I
Right,
just need
yeah.
to prove that things can get better, and things can get better in dramatically quick ways.
And there are things that are worth staying alive for.
Yes.
And this is probably going to be the most compelling argument that you hear for it in anything, honestly. Like the fact that because I'm not trying to say that a therapist is absolutely necessary, but a therapist can't pull you out of poverty, right? But
Nope.
but the the idea the science that no, actually there is something that can be worked towards that is something that can be worked towards that is better. Better is not only possible, but also achievable and has been achieved and has surpassed that expectation tenfold when it has been allowed to. So, there is reasons not to unalive yourself. And this is one of them. One of the, probably the strongest argument for it. That is the main point. Hmm.
Okay, can we go to the next slide?
Oh, Yeah, of course. Secret inventions. We're not going to talk about China just yet. We're talking about revolution in general. All right.
And generally, just trying to provide arguments as to why things may look bleak, but we have a lot to be optimistic for.
The primary purpose of this stream is to put it blunt, an attempt at suicide prevention, right? This is an attempt to do not throw your life away. Better is not only possible, it's coming. And here's what you can do to be ready for it, right? And this is scientific proof. Scientific proof with all the backups, all the studies. Life will be worth living. You just need to hold on for a little bit longer, right?
Yeah, we're not even talking about some vague faith-based hope. We're trying to find
No.
reasons,
This is
convincing
science.
reasons.
This is science, not.
Yeah.
This is science. This isn't dogmatism, right? This is not Christianity.
Okay.
This is or
So
any other religion. This is
here
science.
Lenin does something called reductio ad absurdum, or reducing to absurdity, in which he says, okay, let's imagine
Okay.
the point that you're trying to make.
Okay.
Let's imagine there was a way in which the class-conscious proletariat can support a revolutionary war waged by a non-revolutionary country.
Okay.
Let's imagine what will have to happen in order for that to be true.
Okay.
Okay? The only way we could justify revolutionary defensism, which is the defense of a bourgeois state waging reactionary war, is the following condition: that the power will then pass to the proletariat and the poorest sections of the peasants aligned with the proletariat. And that all annexations during the war be renounced, and indeed, not in word. Like, okay, we're going to defend, in this case, Russia against Germany.
The Soviet Union, in this case, right?
It's not the Soviet Union yet. It's not the Soviet Union yet.
Okay, so still Tsarist Russia. Okay, got it.
Yeah, we're going to defend Tsarist Russia in this case if the following things happen.
Okay.
After the war, the power passes to the proletariat, and that all the territories that Tsarist Russia conquers be renounced and returned to Germany, because that will be colonization and conquest, and that's bad.
Right.
And that we have a complete break of all capitalist interests. Under those conditions, I will defend Tsarist Russia, says Lenin.
Right. Okay. But is that even such a possibility under capitalism, though?
No, they are never going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's never going to fucking happen, because why? Because if you were a capitalist nation and any of this was happening, you would be stupid in stupor not to do that, because that would mean more profit and more money, right? Because ethics and morality be damned, the capitalism's prime directive is to make as much money as possible, and that is a really great way of making money. So they're not gonna fucking do that.
It is, in fact, the highest stage of making money.
The highest stage of capitalism, imperialism.
Yep. So Lenin, by doing this, is saying, okay, let's imagine, for the sake of argument, a condition in which we should defend a reactionary state engaged in war. This will happen. This can never happen. Therefore, we should never engage in revolutionary defensism. The conditions for revolutionary defensism are absurd. Therefore, we should engage in the only other possible stance, which is revolutionary defeatism.
Defeatism. Okay.
Yeah, which is to celebrate the defeat of a reactionary government.
Indeed.
Even if we are especially when we are under its rule. We can go to the next slide.
Okay. You got it. Slide 11. We're almost done.
Yeah, we're almost done.
All right.
This is just basically a segue into
The
the
next
problem.
one.
Okay, Lenin is a very smart boy, and he knows. Okay, I presented a strategic argument, but I am not stupid. I know that strategic arguments by themselves are not convincing. So he's finally going to talk about feelings and optimism.
Uh-huh. Alright.
So,
So,
war cannot provoke among the masses the most turbulent sentiments. Turbulent, shaky, like you're
shaky,
being on
yeah.
a plane.
Yes, I've been on a
Yeah.
plane multiple times, yeah.
So that's the metaphor of your emotions being in turbulent, like blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Shaky.
But he notices this turbulence upsets the usual sluggish state of mass mentality. Revolutionary tactics are impossible if they are not adjusted to these new turbulent sentiments.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes.
So, this uncertainty, this anxiety we feel about the oncoming oil squeeze is a slow awakening from our standard sluggish mass mentality that we need to lobotomize ourselves to deal with the drudge work of everyday life.
At this point, yeah.
So even if it feels scary, Lenin says, yes, that is natural. It's supposed to feel scary. You're dealing with uncertainty, but this uncertainty is part of the agitation necessary to engage in revolutionary tactics.
Absolutely.
Okay, then we can go to the next slide.
Okay. Oh, what is this? Tom's Hardware Store? What is this? What?
That's the final slide.
Oh, wait, what? Oh,
Yeah,
oh
we'll
okay.
see when we're there. Okay, so
Okay.
so Lenin categorizes these three emotional mind states in broad strokes. Obviously, this does not cover everyone. He's talking about mass uh, categorizations, like
And only a handful.
yeah, he's talking about millions of people.
Millions. Yes.
So what emerges as a constant or as a distinguishable pattern between millions of people? So he saw, okay, I see three main categories in emotional responses to revolutionary defeatism.
Mm-hmm.
One is horror and despair,
Or
which we
doomerism.
now call doomerism,
Yes.
which is basically people saying, oh no, there's nothing we can do because if Germany wins, they're going to invade us and kill us all. But if Tsarist Russia wins, then they're going to become stronger. And that means their grip is going to be harsher
Even
than ever, and
further.
the Tsar is going to rule us even harder.
It's Napoleon, there is nothing that we can do, like,
Yeah.
type of thing, you know? Even though
So,
there is stuff that can be done about this.
in
Which is
fact,
what we
he
just
even
talked
wrote a
about.
book about what can be done.
What is to be done? Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the second category he saw was that this tension, these turbulent feelings, they either have an outlet or they don't. If they don't have an outlet, they become horror and despair.
Mm-hmm.
If they have an outlet, then you can either direct them towards the uh, enemy of the reactionary war, in Lenin's case, the Germans, in our case, the Iranians.
Uh-huh.
But that is misdirected anger because who are the people oppressing you right now? Not hypothetically in the future.
It's not the Ayatollah, I can tell you that.
Exactly.
It's not Labi al-Sharif in Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fucking it's not any of them. It's not Qing Shi Hua in China, the average farmer.
To paraphrase a certain saying, no Palestinian ever called me a beaner.
I don't know if you could say that word anymore.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't think you can say that anymore. That's like really bad, I think.
it is, but
Yeah.
I'm reclaiming the slur because that is the one slur I mean, I can claim several.
Oh. Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Yeah. All right.
I remind you, I am Mexican.
Okay, yeah. Well, there you go, guys. There you go, guys. All clear. All right.
Or no Palestinian ever called me the R slur.
That is true. And and in Vietnam, it was the no Vietnamese ever called me I'm not
Yeah.
saying it, but you know it. But
Yeah.
you you can deduce what it is, but I'm not gonna say it. I don't want to say it.
So our current strategic enemies, the people who are harming me right now, they are the bourgeoisie of my country, not some hypothetical Iranian invasion of my country. So
Exactly.
hatred of the enemy of the Iranians is misdirected. It is the
Absolutely.
bourgeoisie taking these feelings of uncertainty, anxiety, and fear and saying, oh, it's them, it's those people, like a lightning rod.
Absolutely.
And the
Absolutely.
final emotional category is hatred of one's government and one's own bourgeoisie, the sentiment of all class conscious workers who understand.
Exactly.
Now,
That is it.
neither Lenin or I are saying that these are the only possible choices, but these are the only
They're probably the most common ones, right?
categories that emerge in large enough groups.
Yeah. So in other words, the most common ones.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So what we want to do is say that yeah, Lenin also understood the problem of horror and despair, of doomerism.
Mm-hmm.
And we earlier learn or talk about learned helplessness. As someone who has dealt with depression for most of his adult life, depression, I'm hesitant to say cured. Let's just say handled.
Handled.
Depression is
Yeah.
handled by reactivating our capacity to achieve things.
Right.
And after falling into the deepest, most miserable corners of depression, you have to start small. Take a shower. Answer one email.
Pick up one piece of clothing off the floor.
Exactly. But that creates a positive feedback loop.
Eat
Feedback loop.
something.
Yeah. Once you start doing a small thing, you realize, oh, I can actually do things. You are the dog realizing, oh, the shock collar is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe things seem overwhelming if you think about the entirety of the revolution, but what about making one block with your neighbors top free or
Maybe.
ice free?
Yeah. One
That is
small thing.
doable. That is doable. People did that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Eh.
one block can become 2 blocks,
And 2 blocks can become 3, or
and
4,
so on and so on.
or 5, or 6.
Once these feelings of uncertainty, fear, and anxiety become focused hatred towards the people that dominate you, and once you start turning that hatred into positive action and you realize, oh shit, I can do something about this, I have power,
Mm-hmm.
that breaks the doomerism, that breaks the learned helplessness loop. I can do something. And even that something is big enough to start another day. And another day becomes another week. And another week becomes another month.
Another month, another year. And so on and so forth. The next thing you know, 10 years have gone behind you and you're in a better spot than you were before.
Yep,
I can,
I'll go
I can
back to that
tell you,
later.
I can tell you from personal experience, it certainly helped. The other thing that might also help if you are able to is a change of environment. If you can, and if you have the means to, um, maybe finally moving out of your parents' home and into your own. Maybe finally moving out of that apartment with that shitty roommate. Maybe that also is what it takes to help significantly improve your mental health. Because also this all of what Lenin categorized these emotions, they significantly hurt your mental health. So so honestly, starting small, maybe even finding a way to move out, maybe even finding a way to maybe move back in if that is what you need, is what you need to do, as long as it can improve your mental health by maybe a little, maybe a lot. That can help get you into a better headspace. That can help, you know, that's one less day where you consider saying goodbye to everything, right? So,
Yep. And if that applies to the individual, that also applies to the social.
Hmm.
A
Yes.
crisis can come faster and more unpredictably than any of us can tell, and things can change for the better in ways that seem to us dramatic and even and sometimes even fantastical. It can
Hmm.
happen. It has happened before. Now, if we can go to the final slide,
There are 14. There are 15 slides.
I think the last one is just like closure.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Oh,
that's just the biography.
hold on.
So,
The chat
the
box is
chat
in the
text
way.
is unlocking.
There we go.
Basically, to summarize, we have this recent news
Mm.
published 9 hours ago yesterday. So
As of yeah, relatively recent. As of April 6th,
yeah,
2026.
exactly. Iran threatens complete and utter annihilation of OpenAI's 30 billion target AI data center in Abu Dhabi. Regime posts video with satellite imagery of ChatGPT maker's premier 1 gigawatt data center.
No fucking way. What?
Yes, fucking way. So
What?
basically, let's see if we understood
No
revolutionary
fucking way.
defeatism, Solaris.
No fucking way. And they're. Oh my god. What? Holy shit. That's fucking. Please. Please, God, let this shit. Please let this actually happen. Please let this actually happen. It would be so fucking funny. Well, not only so fucking funny, this would be so fucking helpful, too. Oh my god.
Okay, but does that not put into very sharp contrast the class conflict between you and your government?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes.
So we have to ask which group of people benefits from the total annihilation of OpenAI's 1 gigawatt data center? Do you
Uh,
benefit from it, Solaris?
yes. It's
I
also.
benefit from it as well.
It'll also mean that my job will also. There's gonna be less insecurity about my job. I'm not. I'm probably not going to lose my job to AI. Probably.
I don't think you, I mean, reminder AI cannot replace workers, but a middle manager is dumb enough to believe that it can.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, but the point is that once I lose my job to AI, it doesn't matter. At that point, to me personally, it won't matter if it turns out that the work is shit. The work the AI produces is shit. I still
Yeah.
lost my job. That's the point.
So,
Right.
again, just talking purely about your selfish, rational, strategic interest.
Yes.
Should you embrace revolutionary defeatism if by Iran just bombing the shit out of OpenAI data centers?
No, we should be optimistic because this is a good thing. This is a
Yeah,
good thing.
it is good for your interests.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Also, Rupert has been putting out many good points. I haven't been reading them. I apologize, but all of what you said is good shit, good shit. And Sok now, you got some pretty good stuff here and there. But yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that as well. I want to acknowledge, I'm not ignoring chat. But yes, that is fantastic. That is fan-tucking-fastic.
So yeah,
Yes.
a very clear example of how revolutionary defeatism works.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Okay, and I think the final slides are just like bibliography if people are interested in reading.
Yeah. Yeah, you know
Oh
what?
no, wait. Okay. That's just the final summary, the ending statement.
Okay, sure.
So this is me paraphrasing Lenin.
Okay. Okay, sure.
The party that wins in a revolution is not just the one that destroys the other militarily, but the one most willing and skilled at building a new society afterwards.
Damn right.
That is the
right.
part that people tend to overlook. It's like, okay, but I'm not a fighter, I'm not a soldier, I cannot wage urban guerrilla warfare. Okay, that's fine, but that's not what a revolution is about. I mean, that's certainly a big part, but the big part of a revolution is building a new society afterwards.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Like,
As there's a very common soundbite in Larry's stream, which we repeat with great joy. That is the great Michael Parenti
The revolution that feeds the children gets my support?
Exactly. The
Hell
point of a
yeah.
revolution is not just 360 no scoping the fash.
Which
The point of a
which is
revolution,
cool, but that's not the point.
yeah, but for legal reasons, we're not saying anything about it.
Yeah, for legal
For
reasons,
legal
that's a
reasons, we're
joke.
saying that the coolest part, the most important part, is feeding the children afterwards. Because right
Absolutely.
now, there's a lot of children who are not being fed.
Indeed. There are even children who are being killed, even.
Yeah. And we need people to feed the children. And if you can keep that image in your head, I think that, to me personally, that gives me a lot of strength and a lot of stability to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
The
Damn right.
possibility that we can build a better society, it has been done, it can be done, it will be done.
It shall be done.
I got a very pertinent example.
Okay.
Rupert knows about it, but it's probably going to be news for the rest of the chat and you, Solaris.
Okay.
In 2017,
Okay.
in September, there was a pretty big earthquake in the central Mexico City area. Buildings collapsed.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard something about that.
Yeah, it wasn't as dramatic as the one from '85, but it was pretty big. People died. It was scary. But the important thing was that for at least a week, legality stopped.
What the fuck?
Yeah, people stopped going to work. People stopped paying for food and toiletries and clothes and so on, or people just stopped charging for them. People immediately, almost intuitively, started organizing and helping other. Yeah,
Wow.
for 1 week, normal society was suspended, and people just cooperated and helped each other, and there was no looting, there was no scary, without cops, there will just be crimes and murders, and
It'll just be
which
the
is absolutely false.
purge or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was an anarchist's wet dream. People just started cooperating and helping each other, and everything was awesome.
Wow. I did not know about that. That's crazy.
I mean, I lived there. I was there. I was there in the trenches, so to
Damn.
speak.
Damn. Wow.
And so were most of my friends. It was a fun times.
It's just, yeah, wow. I did not know about that. That is, I mean,
Things
that's,
changed. There was a crisis moment, and society changed very quickly.
that is
That
freaking
is one of
awesome.
the closest emotionally valuable examples I know of how things can get so much better as fast as possible. So, what happened? The forces of reaction had to spend tremendous amounts of efforts to bring us back into normality.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
Rupert is showing his other story.
Mm.
His neighbor helped him out and calm his dog. Everyone's cooperating. Yeah, so you can see I'm not making it up. So,
I wasn't assuming you were making it up, but like,
I know,
yeah, wow.
but I have this paranoia where I have to defend everything I say
Liberals in the walls, I guess, right?
because no, it's a little beyond that because I was in academia for about 10 years, so
Ah, yes, true.
I have to think about possible counterexamples to anything I say. It's a mania. I got it bad. Anyways,
Hmm. Seen something like that happening in Iran right now, but on an unimaginably larger scale. Oh,
exactly.
ah,
The
huh.
crisis is bringing people together and helping people create a revolutionary potential.
That is fantastic.
So we're scared of the crisis,
But it's
but
already
it can
here.
also be a tremendously optimistic, positive event. I've seen it happen. I lived through it.
Right.
And what ended it was not, shall I say, natural. It was a force of reaction deliberately committing to returning us back to normality and being absolute dicks about it. Do you know what some local governments did during the 2017 earthquake and people providing help to each other, building houses, sending food and clothing?
No, what did they do?
They hijacked the trucks.
Oh,
the certain corrupt, I mean, I'm going to say something redundant, but certain corrupt governors basically had the popo steal the trucks from the people
Oh my god.
and rebrand. So what they did was take a large cut of the help for themselves, because obviously, and then rebrand the aid as political party aid, even though it came from the people.
Gross.
Absolutely disgusting.
Vile behavior.
Yep.
Damn. Wow. And
So
this
what
is
that tells you is that it is easy to do good, and it takes extreme state coordinated effort to do that kind of
harm.
repression, or harm. Yeah.
I see. Fascinating. Huh. So, okay. So at the end here now we have our links. What are these links for? For the reading
Yeah,
or
for the books,
citations?
no, not the books. Like, they're just basically 2-page documents. They're really short.
Okay, here.
That's if people want to read.
Let me just get these out of the way so you guys can take your screen caps if you want to read them. 3, 2, 1. There you go. You've had your chance to screen cap, and now we're moving on.
Yeah, they're really short. I will even call them letters by Lenin. It's it's a little difficult to follow along if you don't have like a general understanding of what's going on, but
Right.
you can just check the Wikipedia for Russian Revolution. Wikipedia is not as much of a bastard when it comes to the start of the Soviet Union. Do not trust Wikipedia about the fall of the Soviet Union, though. That is horseshit.
Absolutely. That is absolutely horseshit. No.
Yeah.
If you want a good reference on like the fall of the Soviet Union, you could watch Revolutionary Thoughts video on how capitalism ruined my country, quote unquote. And also there is footage of people in the Russian Federation flying the hammer and sickle in a protest to bring back the Soviet Union, only to be met with violence that they hadn't seen before. Like, They wanted it back, and they wanted to preserve it. So, but that's a conversation for a whole other time. Perhaps maybe next time we should also talk about. Oh, wait! Also, we're not done yet because we still have the second thought video on the importance of revolutionary optimism as well.
Yeah. Now we can take all that we've gone over and see how it applies to. Yeah, that we have good reasons to be optimistic, and we have good reasons to try and be optimistic.
This video, though, is a little bit old. It's 4 years old, but so the information might be a little bit outdated. But
it's also from when Second Thought was not as radical as they are now.
2021? Really? Huh. Okay. Well, I mean, either way. Okay, good night. Need to get up early tomorrow. Okay, take care, Luncheon. Thank you for coming. Commonwealth of Independent States illegally seized the USSR, but the UN did nothing to prevent it or punish it, so we have legal cases that need to be brought before the international community. Yes.
At this point,
maybe
I cannot take the UN seriously. Like, they have revealed themselves to be absolute jokes, total stooges,
tools of the US.
Yeah,
tools of the US.
Just fucking useless horseshit.
They can easily charge an African leader like full counts, but they have such a hard time condemning Israel, right? So like it's tools of the American empire essentially. But that's a conversation for another time also. Okay, here we go. So
this episode and others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon.
Let's see
if
how
you'd like to help support this channel and get early access to every video, consider becoming a patron at Patreon.
If you need to pause to correct.
To imagine ourselves as living through good times, where once the future was brimming with hope and we were free to imagine a utopian society for ourselves and our children, pessimism has steadily crept over our imagination, taking hold of our future and shackling us with a vision of dystopia. We've become accustomed to the idea that things won't actually get better, and it's not all that surprising. Every day we're confronted with these narratives. Not just in movies or TV shows, but in our day-to-day life too. We watch from the sidelines as proto-fascist regimes grow in power and popularity. Right in front of us, the institutions of our governments are taken over by those who repress our civil liberties, while the state's forces descend into our streets and punish our resistance with violence. We see white nationalism, the very kind we had been told would fade away in our ever-progressing society, swell and become more indiscriminate in its cruelty. Year after year, report after report confirms the enormous toll that our reliance on fossil fuels has on our environment and our health, promising escalation as long as we keep going with business as usual. And all the while, in the background, the machine keeps turning and pushing more and more people into poverty, into sickness, and into endless menial work. These past couple of years, and really the past couple decades, have not been easy. And although this introduction has painted a grim picture of our society, in this episode, we'll be focusing on its antidote, revolutionary optimism, both holding on to optimism as a revolutionary act in itself, and the necessity of optimism in working towards positive change. Let's jump in. Revolutionary optimism is several things. For one, it's the rejection of a defeatist or doomer outlook on life. Revolutionary optimism means remaining hopeful that the goals of the revolution will one day be achieved, and that these causes are worth fighting for, day in and day out.
Oh my God.
What revolutionary optimism is not, is a blind faith in the success of this struggle. It is not falling into dogma and blindly assuming that the end of an unjust and capitalist system is inevitable, and by that assumption, standing back as it continues to reproduce both injustice and capitalism itself. Revolutionary optimism is active.
Yes.
But
if you need to correct anything, go right ahead.
Just expand. Because second thought tells us revolutionary optimism is not dogmatic. Okay, but what does that mean? Usually, when you're being told something, oh, this is not this, that does little to tell us, okay, what it actually is. Mm-hmm. So when something is not dogmatic, dogmatism is a type of mental attitude or process that deals with our beliefs, our opinions, and our knowledge.
Yes.
Dogmatism just means I have obtained something that I consider either self-evidently true or undeniably true, and I am not willing to entertain any change or debate about it.
Absolutely. So how the approach that a lot of liberals have towards, capitalism, towards criticisms of them.
There's various ways of being dogmatic and so on, but what second thought is basically saying here is, if we are dogmatic about optimism, we will stop thinking about why things happen and we'll just take them as a given.
Yes.
So when we're being told not to be dogmatic about optimism, it's another way of saying it is we need to find good evidence-backed up reasons to our optimism.
Exactly.
So it's not that we can just turn our brains off and say, oh, the revolution is inevitable. I don't need to do anything or think anything. It's just going to happen. And no, that's the kind of passivity that dogmatism tends to foment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
Yes, specifically scientific materialism.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So basically, it's an attitude thing. It's what we in philosophy will call epistemic stance or attitude, a way of thinking about how we think and what we consider valid knowledge or trustworthy.
Right.
Okay, that's all I wanted to add.
Okay.
We should start with the flip side of the coin, despair. Despair, pessimism, or more recently, doomerism, is one of our greatest modern challenges. Whatever you want to call it, it seems that more and more people are feeling it and have given up, either on their own personal success or that of the climate movement, the most existential struggle in the history of our species. Other times, doomerism comes from the ranks of the left, where doomers are convinced in the failure of a socialist future or the impossibility of wishing for a time where large-scale issues like racial inequality will be resolved. There is something understandable about this point of view given the magnitude of these issues. That being said, There is also something deeply wrong with doomerism. This mindset stops progress dead in its tracks. We can see this in every progressive movement. After all, doomerism justifies disengaging politically, in protest or elections, allowing more committed political opponents to define the political sphere to their benefit, willfully ignoring or amplifying the very issues that plunge people into doomerism in the first place. We see this in government explicitly, where politicians take advantage of defeatist narratives in an even more detrimental way as they completely resign on tackling big issues. Before a piece of progressive legislation is even considered by Congress, we have seen time and time again our elected officials giving up on it as if it were dead on arrival instead of treating it properly. Like the product of a political will, they have the power to influence and the responsibility as representatives to see it through. We've seen this with the $15 minimum wage. We've seen it with the Green New Deal, and we'll continue to see it so long as there is a resignation to fatalism on the left. Before these bills ever made it to the Capitol, Democratic leadership admitted defeat, not seeking to counter conservative narratives and bureaucratic obstacles with the same vigor their opponents.
Okay.
Okay, so here's where second thought fucks up, because second thought was not as
radical,
educated, and back then. It's not that the Democratic Party yielded or called defeat. It's that they willingly sabotage these things because that is in their best interest.
Yes. No, absolutely. That is what we didn't know. Well, most people didn't know this at the time because this was uploaded in 2021. You know, the Russia-Ukraine war hadn't happened yet. The explicit genocide in Palestine hadn't happened yet, and you know, we haven't seen the complete ineptitude and complete, you know, spinelessness of the Democrats. It wasn't on full display just yet. So
yeah, but I would say that the top circle of the Democrat Party is not inept, and it's not that they like spines. It's that they are a bourgeois party with bourgeois interests, and their goal is to remember what we said earlier about how they made the civil rights movement waste their time and effort to have them believe that they were the cause of incremental change, but
yes.
It turns out it was the coercion from the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that is a technique that the Democratic Party has mastered and done through the years. They will do this bait and switch with these basic civil liberties, not because they believe in it or even because the rights in themselves will be substantial, but because the process tires people.
Indeed.
The exhaustion is the point.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
Sokno has an excellent point. They also do this and foment the idea that fighting for liberties is a moral problem in which you win by being self-sacrificial and heroic and romanticize the whole thing. And no.
Yeah, but isn't that just like fucking Protestant work ethic? Isn't that fucking like Catholic guilt?
It is those lingering vestigial emotional patterns turned to spectacle. And that's why, again, reading Lenin is so good, because Lenin reminds you time and time again that the point is not to be a good person, not to be a beautiful soul, as Hegel would call it. The point is to win.
The point is to win your future. And the only way to do that is to not give in to liberalism and old fucking Christian perversion, capitalist perversions of Christianity. Right? Yeah. So, like, yeah. I get where he's coming from. He didn't know, I guess, because this was 2021. Hardly anybody knew except for, like, the hardcore, not really the hardcore, but the more principled, more educated communists. But even still, like, this did not age well.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here for, to correct the record.
That is what we are here for, yeah.
Do. This should be obvious, but the more we prematurely give up and tell ourselves it'll never happen, the more likely failure becomes. And this turns out great for those who want to see progress stunted. For a fossil fuel executive, there is no difference between a denialist and a doomer. Whether you don't support measures to reduce the effects of climate change because you've given up, or because you don't believe in the problem at all, it's all the same for those who profit off the continued emissions of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and the pollution of our local environments. But of course, doomerism doesn't come out of nowhere. There is an explanation. Behind this fashionable internet term is often simply another form of depression. This deep-seated feeling of despair brought about by converging social and societal factors can be less a political philosophy and more of an illness that affects many of us. We know from 2020 and 2021, during which we saw a 30% increase in feelings of depression and anxiety and a 45% increase in deaths of despair, that this is affecting more and more people and that it is largely a product of our collective environment. It would hardly be productive for us to single out those for whom this is a well-known issue and pretend like it is them who are somehow to blame for the stagnation of American politics or the difficult journey towards a more sustainable future. Instead, it is imperative to counter the narratives that emerge out of doomerism with what is lacking, a sense of agency and optimism. And there are reasons to be optimistic. For starters, more and more people today are mobilizing for a better future. People are taking up protest signs, spots in elected office, and roles in society to both promote and actively bring about positive change on a...
I'm gonna pause for a second. He's mostly referring to the BLM movement, which happened around this time. Or was that a little earlier, I think?
A little earlier.
Yeah, that happened earlier. The BLM movement, though, unfortunately, since it was as directionless as an anarchist car, it got infiltrated really easily, and they got how would you say it? They were declawed. They were declawed, and they had a street sign named after the movement, and then everybody went home after that. So that unfortunately didn't age too well, but with more recent examples, as we said, Iran striking AI data centers, that's something to be optimistic for. The AI bubble bursting, that's something to be optimistic for. China showing a model to the world that we can get along and have fair trade, rather than just be like, you're trading with us now, you're our bitch. Like there are more recent things to be optimistic for, but because again, this is from 2021. This is from, oh god, how long ago was 2021? 4 years ago?
5
years ago. Christ. Well, you get the point.
Scale that hasn't been seen for several decades. Last year,
Palestine.
City streets swelled with massive crowds the world over, with people advocating for a more equal society and the end to our dependency on fossil fuels. On the left specifically, we've seen a massive surge in political awareness and support for the socialist cause. But if you find yourself falling into the doom and gloom mindset, you likely already know this and...
Yeah, this is a part of the video that aged the worst.
Yeah, fucking Bernie ended up being a traitor. Bro sided with Israel. Ugh. But
sided implies that he was never on that. He was ever not on that side.
That is true. Yeah, he served his purpose for people like me back then, who was like, oh well, Bernie has some good ideas. Why aren't the other people doing it? And then it causes them to investigate further, and it leads us to where we are now. But in this day and age, no, he's be gone and left in the dust, buddy.
Think it's not enough, but don't worry. There's more, and there are things that you can do. For one thing, acknowledge that this isn't your fault. Plenty of people are falling into this sense of general malaise, and there is objective proof that this is a product of our circumstances and the specific conditions most of us live in today. Second, while this all seems so permanent, the odds are on our side. They're on the side of progress. For climate change specifically, we're kicking fossil fuels out of energy production at rates we never expected 20 to 30 years ago.
That didn't age too... Okay, yeah, you know what? This video didn't really age that well. Maybe we should stop.
Some parts that did and some parts that didn't. I mean, the general message that pessimism is a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to political agitation, is true.
Yes. That is the point of that. That is the point of that. Um.
And yeah, we have done tremendous progress in we as humanity in overcoming fossil fuels, but that's like 90% China.
Yeah. No. As I've mentioned before, China has bought us a lot of time. So. So yeah. Exactly. Um. Damn. So much has changed in so little time. Holy shit.
Exactly. See, we don't usually get to appreciate it while we live it, but now that we look back,
That's
we
fucking
get this sense of
nuts.
vertigo.
That's fucking nuts. What the hell? So much changed in so little time. Jesus.
A lot of what we may call an existentially optimistic stance relies on the fact that we can never build a complete picture of the world.
That is true. Wow.
And this uncertainty faces us with a pure choice in the sense that we cannot provide evidence for or against.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot ever know with full certainty what the future is going to be because we do not have that picture of the world.
That is true.
That is not to say that there are some incredibly horrible states of being to find ourselves in. But there is always this space for a rather sick existential hope in that because we don't know what is going to happen, not with certainty, not with totality.
Totality.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there is a space we can give ourselves in for saying, okay, maybe things can change. Maybe things can change unpredictably for the
Mm-hmm.
better or for the worse. I mean, that's why it makes it a little bit more sick and twisted. But
Right.
the choice is not about whether I'm going to choose to believe that things are going to get better or worse. The choice is whether I'm going to embrace this uncertainty and try to get the most out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is beautifully put. Beautifully put, as the meme goes. um, I don't really have any more to offer to this don't really have anything more to offer. I think we pretty much we pretty much covered everything, and there's only about a minute left before I need to sleep. So,
Okay, that's a
yeah. We
good
made
moment to end the stream.
Yeah, we did perfect time. Also, since this is the first time that we're doing a sort of educational stream, I would like to hear some feedback on on this. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if there's anything you would any constructive criticism, not blind criticism, not like, oh, you're a fucking stupid commie bitch. Fucking, how did it go again? Like, this bitch is a stupid commie bitch. Bitchy, bitchy, bitch,
Bitch, bitch,
bitch. Yes, yes. No, no, no. Yeah, no, this is because this is, part of what I want to do to help. Because, like, I have a little bit of a platform, I have a little bit of a microphone, maybe like about the size of a karaoke booth, but oh, there it is.
Hey, that's again. We start with what we can.
We start with what we can. That's what I want to hold up on. Keep my head on, like, educate here for education and for entertainment and education. You know,
Yep.
so that is so yeah. I would like to hear some feedback on any of this. If there's any topics you want us to cover, please let me know, and we'll organize around that. Um, and if there's anything that I think is absolutely important for right now, um, in this current moment, like what should be heard right now, because what we're talking about now the primary purpose of right now is to combat doomerism and to say, hey, it's not all doom and gloom. There is hope. If there's anything like that is absolutely necessary, we'll cover that too. But in the meantime, now that this is all over, I want to thank everybody who decided to stick around till the very end, and everybody who at least learned something, and who maybe this made your day a little bit brighter. Hopefully this made you feel better. I hope it did. And remember you are loved, and there are people who will miss you. So please don't end your life.
Better world is possible, and you can help build it.
Yes, better world is possible. So thank you for hanging out with me, Samio, and thank you for helping us stay on track.
Not a problem.
Yeah, it certainly does help. It certainly does help having somebody to keep me on track with all of this, because my brain just goes everywhere. But yeah, that is going to do it for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on Wednesday with more Vintage Story, because of course I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. You should try it, by the way, Samio. It's like 20,
I have played it.
It's like 20 euro. It's like 20 euros. It's very good.
I have it. I already told you.
Oh, you did? Oh shit.
Yes.
Hell yeah. All right.
An example of Solaris mind going everywhere.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
All right. Well, that's gonna be it for today. Take care, everybody. I see you on Wednesday. Goodbye.
Bye.